Tuesday, May 7th is now in session. Just a reminder, please make sure your cell phones are off. And in conformance with the open meeting law, this meeting is being live streamed. If you're here in support or in opposition to a project, we ask that you give us new information when it's your turn at the podium. That is what we want to hear, is new information. Repeating what's already been said is not helpful to us in making a decision. I'm also going to advise you that the May 21st meeting has been canceled. All projects on that agenda will be heard on June 25th. So just a notice to anybody who is in this room or watching that is the case. Mr. Fortune?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The hearing minutes of April 30th, 2019, and the revised meetings of March 26, 2019 will be heard at the first June meeting. So we're going to go right into the extensions. So calling BOA 389-047, 98 to 102 White Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Laureen Scatino, 245 Sumner Street, Suite 110, from Attorney Richard Linz's office. I'm here today seeking a confirmation on a request for an extension. This case was actually subject to a judicial appeal, and the appeal was dismissed in February 16th of 2018. So we just want confirmation that the decision would stand for 2 years from the date of dismissal.
I'm sorry, I wish I had received this information ahead of time. So explain this to us again.
So this case was, initially a variance was granted on this at a hearing held November 18th in 2014. The decision ended with inspectional services on February 10th of 2015. However, a judicial appeal was taken on this. Throughout the process, the appeal was actually dismissed back in February 16th of 2018. So we just want a confirmation or a docketed for the record that the 2 years actually runs from the date of the judicial appeal.
But in the meantime, the applicant did not come through asking for an extension since you were involved in litigation.
Correct. He would not have to because it automatically holds the time as soon as a judicial appeal is filed. So he's prepared to pull permits, but we just wanted everything docketed for the record.
For the 2-year period. Okay, so this is, okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'm going to grant the motion for a 1-year extension.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries for a 1-year extension.
I'm going to call the 930s. Are there any deferrals or withdrawals for 930? Councilor, address, please.
19-23 Clapp Street.
For the record, calling BOA 824-773, 19 to 23 Clapp Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Tim Johnson, Architect, 190 Old Colony Ave, Boston. Madam Chair, members of the board, although we have broad abutter support, we have made major revisions to this multifamily building due to the requests of the Executive Committee of the Civic Association. They have a meeting tomorrow night, and they'd like us to present the final revisions. Therefore, we respectfully request a deferral to the earliest possible date.
And how major are these revisions?
We went from a 5-story, 12-unit building, Madam Chair, to a 4-story, 9-unit building.
And the review by the committee is for what?
Pardon me, ma'am. We did email them the revised plans, but they want us to present tomorrow at their executive committee meeting.
So, I should have said this before you got on stand, but for all community groups and applicants, we are really re-looking very strictly at our policy about granting extensions. We are, this has increased our workload, and our meeting schedule has really flipped out of control. So this is a reminder that summer's coming up, and we always see an increase in the number of requests for deferrals. So we ask that community groups and applicants do their best to make sure that that they hear the cases in a timely fashion before they are scheduled for this board. So on this case, may I have a motion, please?
Motion for deferral.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date,
The
please.
earliest date is going to be July 30th, 11:30.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Address, please?
Good morning. Nestor Limas for 73 Maverick Square. We're requesting a deferral.
Hold on a second, sir. For the record, calling BOA 929-259, 73 to 75 Maverick Square. Name and address for the record, please.
Nestor Limas, 73 Maverick Square.
And why are you requesting the deferral?
We're requesting the deferral. The matters before the borough were zoning items that we're going to be addressing, FAR, setbacks, pre-existing conditions. Since then, we also had building code issues that we've been working with the plan examiner, and the plan examiner suggested that we should go before this board to address those issues. So we have filed the necessary paperwork to have those added to this hearing.
Okay. So has that been advertised yet, Kevin?
I'm sorry.
The building code companion case to this?
It appears as though there's only a zoning code refusal.
That's it.
So have you received anything on building code from the ISD?
Yes, ma'am.
You have, okay, and so advertising will take a month?
3 weeks.
3 weeks? Okay.
We're into July.
So may I have a motion, please?
Motion for deferral.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date?
You'll also have a date of July 30th at 11:30.
Thank you. Good morning.
Address, counsel?
Good morning, 80 Cottage Street, East Boston.
For the record, calling BOA 918-868, 80 Cottage Street. Name and address for the record.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Mark Lacasse, Lacasse Law, 75 Arlington Street in Boston, attorney for the applicant. We're seeking a deferral based on a request of the JP&A that we appear before their general meeting on Monday, May 13. We've already completed our abutter meeting. We had a meeting with the Plans and Zoning Committee, after which ONS requested a hearing date, which was assigned for today. However, JP&A's general meeting is next Monday, the 13th, so we just need to appear before them for the final vote.
Substantively has changed.
Nothing substantively has changed, Madam Chair.
So you're just going in for a final check-in?
Final vote. Their Plans and Zoning Committee heard the substance, and then they take a final vote at their general membership meeting the following month.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Madam Chair, we have no plans for this project.
So that's an issue too. Make sure that we have the plans. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion. Motion to defer.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please?
There's already been a date granted for them on 6/11/2019 at 11:30.
Why is there a date already scheduled for them?
That's what I've been told.
Okay. Okay. Let's move
6/11.
on.
6/11 at 11:30.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 9:30? Yes,
Pardon? No, let's go ahead.
Calling the first case, calling BOA 920-147, 216 Brook Street. This is to modify a roof line, changing a few interior wall layouts. The violation is Article 27G. This is in the East Boston iPod. Article 53, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 53, Section 9, the height is excessive in stories. Article 53, Section 9, the required side yard is insufficient. And Article 53, Section 9, the required rear yard setback is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
David Lyons, 187B East Central Street in Natick, Massachusetts.
So tell us what's actually being proposed. Is there a dormer added? What's being proposed?
The current house has a walk-up attic. It has a hip roof on it, and what we're proposing is to straighten the walls and put a flat roof on the top. So the third floor.
So it adds a story in essence.
It's already a usable space. It's already living space, and they're just looking to gain a little bit more room for their growing family.
What's the floor to ceiling height?
Floor to ceiling height on that floor is going to be 8 feet, I believe.
Okay, and the use of that space?
Bedrooms mainly.
Bedrooms, how many?
That will be 3 bedrooms on that floor.
3 bedrooms, and this is a one-family or a two-family?
It's a 2-family. The first floor is Unit 1, and second and third floors would be Unit 2.
And how many bedrooms in the unit two?
Unit 2 is a total of 3 bedrooms.
So it's, it's only these bedrooms and the additional floor?
Oh, the initial floor, first floor,
No, on the second unit, how many bedrooms in the second unit?
the second unit is the 3 bedrooms.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
Well, I mean, this is a fairly de minimis project, but there are no elevations. There's a section, but there are no elevations and drawings, and it's also stamped by an engineer as opposed to an architect.
There were no elevations in this. I thought we had submitted the
Do you have
elevation.
them with you?
I'll check and see if we have them. Do you have some? The architect has. Can bring
Will
them
you
up.
bring them up, please?
Is there a reason that it's not stamped by the architect and it's stamped by the engineer instead?
Can you bring those, yeah.
Duplicate.
I mean, this is fairly de minimis, so it's not a huge deal, but still.
If should this pass, we can hold signature until we have it stamped by an architect. Any other questions from the board?
Well, hang on a second. These drawings aren't stamped either,
By the architect?
by anybody.
Okay, I know we submitted the stamped ones from the engineer, and yes, we did not have a stamp set from the architect.
Okay.
Any issues, though, that you see, Mr.
No,
Ehrlich?
I didn't, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward project, so I
Okay.
just want to make sure that all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Lina Tramelli with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. I would like to go on record on support, and there were not concerns about the proposal during the community meetings. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ricardo Patron from the Office of City Councilor Lydia Edwards. The councilor would also like to go on record in support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Plans will be held until we have them stamped by an architect.
Thank you. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling BOA 916-236-198 Byron Street. This is a 2-story, 19 by 15 addition, with no basement. Addition to contain 1 bedroom, second floor level, a study office on the first level. A current first floor egress to grade level shall be maintained, renovated with new addition. Violation Article 27G. This is in the East Boston iPod. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Frank Deludo.
Can you speak up, please?
Sure. My name is Frank Deludo. I'm the associate architect in the builder of the project. The owner of the project, the owner of the home is beside me here.
Maddie Dewhurst.
So tell us, is this a 1 or a 2-family dwelling?
1.
It is one.
It's a 1-family? Owner occupied? Yeah, so tell us what's being proposed.
We're proposing to build a 15 by 12, 2-story addition on the rear of the house.
And the use is for what?
The use will be for an additional bedroom and a study, home office.
Thank you. Mr. Ehrlich, how are the plans?
Drawings are adequate.
What's the total square footage that's being proposed again? Is this a de minimis project or not?
I mean, there's actually, as I understand it, there's no, the only issue is iPod, right?
Yep,
The
okay.
only issue is that part.
Yeah, so I mean, there's nothing that's...
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Lina Tramelli with the Mayor's Offices of Neighborhood Services. I would like to go on the record in support. There was a strong support during our community process. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ricardo Patron, Office of City Councilor Lydia Edwards. The councilor would also like to go on record in support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling BOA 918-764-783 East Broadway. This is to legalize the extended living space to the basement for Unit 1 in an existing 2-family dwelling. No work to be done. Violation Article 27S, Section 5. This is in the South Boston iPod. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Tom Miller from McDermott, Quilty Miller, 28 State Street, Boston. Scrivener, the appellant.
I'm sorry. And so tell us what's being proposed?
So this is a application to legalize an already constructed additional living space in the basement of the first unit
Okay.
at the address.
And is this owner occupied?
It is not, it is rental.
Yeah.
It was when Mr. Scrivener bought the property, it was already built, and while he was going through the process, he realized that it was not legal, and so we're here to rectify that.
Okay, so tell us, what's the floor-to-ceiling height in the basement, and what's the use of that space?
It's over 8 feet. I'm not sure exactly what it is off the top of my head, but it's 8 feet plus. Use is living area and bedroom.
And tell us about the bedroom. Does it have a window well? Is it above grade? What is the deal on that?
Yes, both bedrooms in the basement have windows. They are below grade, but they. Yep, there is a window well for egress in the front bedroom. The rear bedroom has access to the rear exit, which accesses an at-grade exit to the back area.
Mr. Ehrlich, and are utilities separate?
The plan chart, I find them a little confusing about the access to the utility room. Does each unit have its own mechanical room? Or, there's a note here, it says, Unit 1 owner to allow access to meters as necessary. What does that mean?
The meters are in a closet in the basement, and there is access for the other unit to get in.
The access, I'm looking at but the access is through the other unit.
Correct.
There's supposed to be separate access.
Could you put your name and address on the record, for please?
Yes. Paul Scribner, 16 Bacon Street, Woburn, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, there's supposed to be independent access for each unit to the mechanical room without going into one of the other units.
On the condo documents, they worked that out. I mean, that was done before I was even a part of it. I bought the unit, and as a part of the condo docs, they allowed for access for the other unit, as far as I
That
know.
needs to be fixed because we have seen cases come before us where that actually evolves into an issue. You know, so each unit you need to figure that one out, how to separate the utilities or.
I only own one of the units,
I see.
so the other owner is, I mean,
So
he's
you
owned
own
it
just the
for,
basement unit, the first basement.
it's the first floor in the basement, and the other owner owns the third and fourth floor.
Second and third.
Second and third, I'm sorry.
Okay. How's everything else, Mr. Ehrlich?
Well, everything else is okay. I mean, it's essentially legalizing an existing situation, but I wish someone from ISD were here because I'm not quite sure whether this passes muster. I don't know how a condo doc can override building codes.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Put that proviso on.
So he should have been cited for building code? Mr.
No, as Mr. Hampton says, I think that's a wise decision, is that we make a motion to not grant any building code relief, and then that's their problem from that point on.
Okay, is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal? Is anybody? Hold on, just support. If you're speaking in support, okay.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Haley Dillon from Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We'd like to go ahead in support of this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Ma'am, if you're speaking in opposition, can you line up at the podium right there? Representatives of elected officials, go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Ana Calderon from Councillor Flink's office. The councillor would like to go on record in opposition to this proposal. There are many concerns coming from the direct voters on the community outreach for this particular project, and so we want to echo that and go on record in opposition. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, members of Council Michael Flaherty, echoing the sentiments of Council Flynn's office, Council to go on record in opposition.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Karen Foley, Councilor Asabi George's office. We want to echo Councilor Flynn and oppose this project. Thank you.
Please put your name and address on the record and tell us what your opposition is based on.
My name is Joanne McDevitt, and I'm sorry that I was outside. It's very hard to hear, as you know.
Can you
so I
please
hope-
tell us what your opposition is based on?
And your address.
And your address, please?
Joanne McDevitt, MC, capital D-E, V Victor, I-T-T, 787 East Broadway, South Boston, Mass. And I am the immediate abutter.
Okay.
Okay? I believe that there has been confusion and a lack of public process. I have never seen the plans. I tried to ascertain those plans from 1010 Mass Ave. They were moved over here for this hearing, and I have not been able to look at those plans yet. I would ask that you defer the process today if you're recommending
Does this make
not-
sense for you to for us to hold this case and for you to have a conversation with the plans so that the abutter is well informed?
We can do that.
Okay, let's do that and let's move on to the next project.
So we'll come back to that case. We're going to go to the next one, calling BOA 921-174, 71 to 75 West Broadway. This is to demolish an existing building, erect a new 6-story mixed-use building with ground floor commercial space and 9 residential units above. Violations, Article 27S, Section 9, this is in the South Boston iPod. Article 68, Section 33, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 68, Section 8, floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 68, Section 8, the building height is excessive. Article 68, Section 8, the usable open space is insufficient. Article 68, Section 8, the front yard is insufficient. Article 68, Section 8, the side yard is insufficient. And Article 68, Section 8, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address at 350 West Broadway in South Boston. I am joined by Doug Stefano, project architect, with an address of 93 F Street, South Boston. Madam Chair, members, this is an application for a new 6-story building at 71-75 West Broadway, which is the corner of A Street. This is currently a single-story commercial building, best known as the present location of Moe's Diner. Madam Chair, members, this application seeks the erection of a new 6-story building that would contain ground floor commercial space of approximately 1,128 square feet of a use that is as yet unidentified. We're not seeking any relief for any future intended use, with 9 dwelling units located above. The building would rise to a maximum height of 65.5 feet. The dwelling units would be divided as 2 units per floor, for floors 2 through 5, and then one unit, unit number 9, occupying the entirety of the 6th floor. The units are comprised of one one-bedroom and one two-bedroom unit on floors 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the 6th floor, unit number 9, which occupies the entirety of the 6th floor, is a 2-bedroom unit. 3-bedroom unit with 15 bedrooms in total. There would be a private roof deck on the roof.
So what's the square footage, Counselor, on the 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms?
Yes, the 1-bedrooms are 802 square feet, and the 2s, 925. The top floor, being the entire floor, is 1753.
This is located in an MFR LS multifamily residential local service zoning subdistrict under Article 68. It requires relief for FAR. The maximum under the MFR LS is 1.5. This is just over 6. It occupies the entirety of the site. It's a 0 lot line building, and there are bays on floors 2 through 6, which accounts for the 0.1 in the FAR. We're seeking a variance on height, on minimum usable open space per dwelling unit. Again, this is a 0 setback building, so we have a modal on West Broadway, a modal on A Street, no rear yard setback and no side yard setback on the right side. And again, there's, because of the size of the site, 2,244 square feet, it's not possible to have both an active first floor use and parking on the ground floor. There's no parking associated with this building. It is located on the same block as the MBTA's Broadway Red Line station. It's maybe 200 feet from the station. So this is true a transit-oriented development.
Is there a roof deck on this building?
There is a roof deck with a private use of the sixth floor unit. It does cover, the size of that roof deck is 19 by 50 feet. So it's a very large roof deck.
So it's private to the 6th floor?
Private, yes, with a drop floor unit. It is, cannot be made public because it doesn't have two means of egress. So it will remain a private roof deck for the use of Unit 9 only.
How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
Other than the fact that Moles is going, which is truly sad, the drawings are adequate.
Still there.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
And Madam Chair, members of the board, Haley Dillon from Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We'd like to go ahead and support. Thank you.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Oh, support? Please put your name and address on the record.
Yes, morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Derek Pajikowski, representing the WBNA, West Broadway Neighborhood Association. So we would like to offer our conditional support for this project. We think that further details need to be resolved. We need to see further details, but in general, the erection of a building of this size and this use on this corner, we broadly support.
Thank you. In opposition?
Yes. Madam of the Chair, members of the board, Ana Calderon from Councillor Flink's office. The councillor would like to go on record in opposition to this project. We've heard from many neighbors, abutters, and the entire South Boston community in opposition to this project. They share concerns about the height of 6 stories, the density, parking impacts, and issues with trash removal. We also heard concerns about pedestrian safety during the construction phase at this very busy intersection due to the high volume of foot and vehicular traffic. As a result, we oppose this project. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Council at Large, Michael Flaherty. Due to the communal efforts that went into drafting Article 68, the councilor is unable to support the project at this time, but would defer to the board.
Melinda Watman, do you need my address?
Yes.
55 West Broadway Street, Unit 1, South Boston. I speak on behalf of the 45 to 55 West Broadway Condominium Association, and I am a member of the West Broadway Neighborhood Association. It strikes me that with 7 violations to the zoning rules, that it undermines, to approve this undermines the actual purpose of the zoning board, that we're looking at preserving neighborhoods, and this building would do just the opposite. It would take away from the frontage, it would take away from the general beauty of the neighborhood, and it, as I said, violates, as you mentioned, 7 of the zoning rules. So I just want to go on record that I'm opposed to the project.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and board members, my name is Michael Parker, and I represent the 45 to 55 West Broadway Condominium
And that's the
Association.
same project?
It is the same.
Okay.
They are direct abutters to this project.
Now, we
and-
just heard from one person there
You
who's
did.
representing, she just represented the building and the units there.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So what I would just like to emphasize is that the condominium association has tried to engage in dialogue with the developer. We had one meeting, there was one plan that was given to the condominium regarding issues like the screening between the buildings is going to be in tight quarters, things of that nature.
You're in opposition?
We are in opposition.
Okay. Counselor, may I have a response?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Tell us about the community process.
So community process, there was a butters meeting sponsored by the Office of Neighborhood Services at the La Brea Center in February. There was a presentation to the West Broadway Neighborhood Association at its regular monthly meeting. There was a follow-up presentation to the WBNA specifically on design. I know that WBNA, even in its testimony referencing some concerns they still have, are very concerned about design. A lot is happening in that general area, and some of it that has occurred has been good, and that's been a development that has undergone strict oversight by WBNA, and my clients are committed to continuing to work with them on design issues, because there are examples down there where the design didn't quite go the way that it should have. So my clients, as on the other projects that I've worked on in this neighborhood, are committed to working with both the BBDA and the WBNA on design. We'll continue regular updates.
And
with
so,
them.
who is your client?
My clients are the owner of this is Stephen Mulry. My clients are the purchasers and developers, and that is Joe Allen, Michael Moore, and Patrick Costello.
So-
Mr. Allen is here today.
And I'm assuming that they know that butters also need a voice in this, so I'm assuming that should this prevail, that you will continue to do adequate reach out to the abutters.
Absolutely, because it is a small site, because there needs to be a dialogue, there needs to be communication with the 55 West Broadway Association. This site is contiguous to their site, not to their dwelling buildings, but to their parking area, and that is certainly something we're committed to, not only because it's neighborly, but because it's a necessity through this process.
May I have a motion,
I'm
please?
going to make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review and also extensive outreach to the neighbors to continue to
Is there
work
a
through that.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling BOA 938-099, 105 West First Street. This is demolition of an existing warehouse building to allow for new construction of a ground-up 7-story office building with one level of parking, basement space, retail space on the first floor. Violation Article 21, Section 1, the setback of the parapet is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, members of the board, Madam Chairwoman. My name is Rebecca Lee. I'm with MINS, and to my right is Eli Long, representative of the property owner, and David Money from Stantec Architecture. We were here before you previously for zoning relief for this project on a turn-down letter issued by the ISD, and upon reviewing the plans and the turn-down letter and the relief we got, we realized that we thought there was also a parapet setback that had not been cited. ISD agreed, issued a subsequent turn-down letter, and we were before you to get this one additional piece of zoning relief necessary to construct the project. The project has received community support BPDA approval and myriad other permits and approvals like Boston Water and Sewer site plan approval so that it can go into construction later this week. So this just completes the suite of zoning relief needed for the project.
Councilor, what is the relief? What exactly? How many feet are?
The parapet setback requirement, this is base zoning, I-2 and 2, essentially requires a wedding cake looking building, so setbacks of like 28 and 35 feet, which on this tight site and irregularly shaped site is not possible. It also ends up with floor plates above 60 feet that just are not responsive to the market. It makes the project completely uneconomic. So this design was approved by the BCDC, the BPDA, and the community, so nothing about the project itself has changed. We just want to make sure that it has the complete suite of zoning relief that it needs.
How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
As the applicant has stated, that they're de minimis because it's really only about the parapet setback.
Okay, so may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? No.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Calling your next case, calling BOA 896-463, 30 Preble Street. This is to erect a new three-family dwelling building with 4 parking spaces and roof deck. The violation of Article 27S, Section 5, is in the South Boston iPod. Article 68, Section 33, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 68, Section 8, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 68, Section 8, the usable open space is insufficient. Article 68, Section 8, the front yard is insufficient. And Article 68, Section 8, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Patrick Mahoney, business address of 160 Fennel Street, representing the proposed owner and Universal.
Tell us, Councilor, what's being proposed.
Madam Chair and members of the board, before you is 30 Preble Street. which has an existing single-story retail space on it. The proposal is to demolish that structure and erect a 3-unit residential dwelling with 3 parking spaces.
What's the zoning in this district?
This is MFR.
Okay.
The proposal maintains the dimensional setbacks at a minimum. This 3-foot side yard setback, as you can see in the first page, as well as a 15-foot rear yard setback from the building, with 2 means of egresses and double the right side yard setback, which was something that was gained through the neighborhood process. There are 3 parking spaces on the lowest level, on the second level, and third and fourth level is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath residential. It will be a condo unit. There is no roof deck. Initially on the advertisement, it was with a roof deck through the neighborhood process.
What are the sizes of the units, Counselor?
Just under 1,000 square feet each.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
Drawings are adequate. There's Mahoney, there's 2 sets of drawings, one from October and one from April 10th.
Yep, the April 10th set was brought in with the most recent revisions.
Okay.
Should not include
So what can you briefly describe the differences between the 2 sets?
a roof deck, and also the side yard on the earlier set on the right side has been increased
Okay.
to as a result of community feedback from some of the abutters on Rogers Street.
Okay. Well, Madam Chair, the April 10th drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Haley Dillon, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, we'd like to go ahead and support. They'd also like to recognize that they have a letter of support from the Neighborhood Civic Association. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam the Chair, members of the board, Ana Calderon from Councilor Flynn's office. The councilor would like to go on record in support of this project. The applicant did work with the abutters and the Civic Neighborhood Association to get out, to take off the roof deck and other concerns that they had, and that's the reason why we support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Karen Foley, Councilor Wasabi George's office, would like to go on record in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of Council Lodge, Michael Flaherty. Due to the efforts that went into drafting Article 68, the council is unable to support the project at this time, but would defer to the board.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and council members. My name is Julie Byrne. My address is 15 Rogers Street, South Boston, Mass. I'm here to go on record as a direct abutter in opposition of this permit. Currently, as he indicated.
So don't read, please. Just give us bullet points on what your opposition is based on.
So it is not owner occupied currently.
Okay.
It's going to be condominium,
Yeah.
3 condominium units. It's an egregious plan to sort of gain profit on the area. The current owner of the property does not manage the property well. As you're aware, the Andrews Square area is, there's a lot of drug use. There are people that urinate and defecate behind that building, and it's poorly managed currently. So, it's upsetting in the neighborhood when I'm an owner-occupied unit, and, there's no concern of the property now, but in order to make some profit on that area, we're going to be losing access to air. Oftentimes, we've had other development on Preble Street, which is in that same area. AC units, HVAC are usually put in the rear of the building, which will be blocking my back deck.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Hi, my name is Susan Kelly, and I live at 19 Rogers Street. I'm a direct abutter, and I oppose this project. I bought my house about 22 years ago. One of the reasons I bought that property was the open space in back. This project completely blocks the back of my house, the back deck. There'll be no sunlight at all.
Okay, thank you.
Brad Mulholland, 23 Rogers Street. I'm a direct abutter. I'd like to go on record of opposition. I believe that is taking up a lot of the space. I'll have no view outside my back deck and basically be touching against the back of the building. I agree that the use of the property right now is not sufficient. There is a lot of derelict behavior back there, but I think the size of the building should be
Thank you. Counselor, I'd like you to address the current condition and current maintenance, the rear yard, what the rear yard is, and the location of any AC or other systems like that.
So, Madam Chair, as a first step, the current owner is not my client. My client is Eddie O'Driscoll, who is buying the property contingent on it. He has no ability to maintain the currently property as he's not the owner. But some of the issues that came up through the neighborhood process would be gates on either side to block. There was a problem with drug use and prostitution activity on the site, and to deter people from getting into the backyard of the proposed condo development. So that's something that will be done going forward, as well as cameras installed facing both the rear yard as well as Cross Street.
So tell us about the
On
rear
the yard
yard.
dimensions, the zoning relief being requested here, and from a dimensional standpoint, is very negligible. We have a 15-foot rear yard setback and being provided. 15 feet with the shallow lot exception is what the code requires. The Article 68 requires a 3-foot side yard setback. Now, most of the opposition was on Rogers Street. As you look at drawing A1, you can see 23, 19. You can't see 15 because it's further away, but that's where it's coming from. Instead of a 3-foot side yard setback, which is all that the code requires, we have twice that at 6 feet. Additionally, there's a dimension showing how far away the deck is as it relates to the structure and also the rear yards of the townhouses from 23 to 19 Rogers. It is significantly less by half of what zoning requires. The height of the allowed in this area is 40 feet, although it hasn't come up, view did come up. And we are below 40 foot height that is required. So from a zoning perspective, other than iPod and parking, we are generally compliant.
And and you're providing parking. Jeff?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a South Boston iPod. Does the BRA have a recommendation on this?
It was approval with design review.
Approval with BRA design review?
Correct.
That's a staff recommendation or
Yes,
board
it is.
recommendation? Okay.
I just had a quick question. I'm just looking at the 3 vehicles, 2 full-size, 1 compact. Does that work?
Yes, as long as 50% of the parking spaces required, not more than 50% of them can be compact spaces, which is a 7-foot by 18-foot space, the full space being 8.5 by 20 feet. It can never be more than 50% in any of the neighborhood sections.
Given all that information, may I have a motion, please?
I'm going to make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We trust you'll also be in touch with the abutters. Okay?
Can 783 East Broadway come back to the table, please? Oh, you are, Madam Chair.
So please put your name and address on the record.
Again, Tom Miller, Dermot Miller, 28 State Street, Boston.
Paul Scribner, 16 Bacon Street, Woburn, Massachusetts.
Tell me what the outcome of your conversation was.
We had a conversation with the abutter, Ms. McDevitt. Her issues were with the way the process was held, the community outreach process was held. She didn't feel it was adequate. At the time, though my firm was not involved, it was reported to me that they held a abutters meeting at the property outside. The weather was inclement, so they actually held it inside the property. Ms. McDevitt, due to complications, she reported surgery or whatnot, was unable to attend. That was her complaint. My client has reached out to her personally on numerous occasions, but they were unable to have a fruitful conversation. I gave her a copy of the plans. As we have them today, she requested full-scale drawings, which I do not have.
Okay.
Given this information, may I have a motion,
Well,
please?
can I make a motion first that no building code relief be granted?
Second.
So it's a motion for approval?
Well,
Is this a- is-
step-
is this- is
Yeah, I
this-
was gonna then make a motion for approval.
No, you can do approval with no building code relief.
Okay.
As a
And
proviso.
there's no need for a design review, it's all legalizing existing work, so
Okay.
motion to approve without building code relief.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We understand you will continue your conversation with the abutter.
We will continue that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, it's only 10:21, and cannot call the 10:30s until 10:30.
I'm going to make a motion for, this meeting is now adjourned until 10:30. Anybody interested in requesting a deferral, please line up. Which one are you calling?
It's better to be at this corner because then you can get both views, but you also know that this is being live streamed. Okay? Thank you.
so I'll let us set up.
Set up and get out.
No, Green Street. Well, it's direct to 4-story, makes use 23 residential units, 1 retail space.
I'm like, oh yeah, I know. It's blowing my mind. It's crazy. That was crazy. Like, I don't even understand. But like, that's like, oh, I just remember watching her playing hockey right freshman year. It's over, man. It's over. I know it's true. You get them right in and it is. Good to go. Tommy boy. You gotta go this way. People are like, where's your tie? It's under my kid. It's fun. Good to go. Let's do it. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That shouldn't be on. That shouldn't be on the hill. No, they're coming on now. They just have to do it afterwards.
Do it in the hallway? How's that? Because I think it'd be great to do it in the hallway. Okay, thank you. Now, where did he go? Where is he? Good morning. The Board of Appeal for Tuesday, May 7th is back in session. Just a reminder, please make sure your cell phones are off. Can I just have silence in this room, please? Make sure your cell phones are off, and in conformance with the open meeting law, this meeting is being live streamed. If you're here to speak in support or in opposition to a project, please give us new information when you are at the podium. Mr. Fortune.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, excuse me, one last thing is the meeting for May 21st has been canceled. If you have cases before it on that date, it's been moved to June 25th. Everything will be re-advertised. Mr. Fortune?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to call the 10:30 hearings. Are there any deferrals or withdrawals? Counselor, address?
If I may, address is 822 Canterbury Street.
Calling for the record, BOA 878-988-822 Canterbury Street. Name and address for the record.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Kevin Cloutier from the Cloutier Law Firm located at 1990 Center Street in West Roxbury.
So tell us the reason for this request.
Well, we've had 2 community meetings, but we still have to appear before the Mount Hope Canterbury Neighborhood Association. We do have a date on June 13th. The reason for ONS notifying the Zoning Board of Appeals that we were prepared is a miscommunication between myself and Mr. Coppinger, which I take responsibility for. So we just have one more neighborhood association meeting to appear before, and we expect to be prepared to present at the next available ZBA hearing.
And have there been substantive changes to the project?
There have not been.
They have not been.
Correct.
Okay, so this is just a check-in.
Motion for deferral?
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please?
You have a date of July 30th, 11:30.
Thank you very much.
Counselor, address, please?
80 Minot Street and 82 Minot Street.
For the record, calling BOA 892-908, 80 Minot Street, BOA 892-915, 82 Minot Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Patrick Mahoney with a business address of 160 Federal, and requesting a deferral strictly for to perfect advertising. Community process is complete. We are in a position, good position with the neighborhood, but the advertising needs to be perfected.
Was there a violation that was not cited?
There was one site that was changed in the notes section of the refusal letter, as well as going from a proposed 3-family to a 2-family. So for this specific matter, I think it's important that it is re-advertised. It's something that we've been in communication with as of March and April, but it just hasn't carried forward to the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please?
You also have a date of July 30th at 11:30.
Okay, thank you.
Address? Counselor?
Wait, excuse me, was that for both 80 and 82?
Yes.
Okay.
So do you have another one? Hold on, Jeff. Is there another one that you have?
80, 82.
No. Are you deferring 1854 Dorchester Avenue?
No.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Okay. Address, Jeff, please.
197-201 Green Street.
For the record, calling BOA 874-938, 197-201 Green Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Drago with Drago and Toscano with an address of 15 Broad Street. We're here today before the board seeking a deferral. We did complete our process. In conversations this morning with the mayor's office, there are some unresolved community issues they would like us to work on. So we are seeking a deferral.
May I have a motion?
Motion for deferral?
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The date,
You have a date of July 9th at 11:30.
Thanks. These all go together.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 10:30?
Well, that's my mistake, right?
Hearing none, I'm going to call the first case. Calling BOA 916-653, 2837 to 2839 Washington Street. This is to erect a new 4-unit residential townhouse dwelling with roof decks on a vacant lot and propose 4 off-street parking. The violation is Article 50, Section 29. Lot width is insufficient to accommodate the 3 buildings. Article 50, Section 29, lot frontage is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Scott Kirkwood. I'm with Boston Real Estate Collaborative, and we are at 1904 Washington Street. And just to start off, I want to say thank you, Chairwoman and members of the board.
hey, can you please do us a favor? Don't read. Just tell us what you're proposing to do.
Yep.
Okay?
Sure.
Thanks.
So we are proposing 4 units on the site. Like was said earlier, the only variances we are seeking are for lot width and for lot frontage. We feel that, as far as the scale and density, it matches that of
No,
the surrounding
hold on.
neighborhood.
So what's the zoning district?
MFRLS.
So MFRLS?
Yes.
And you're proposing 4 residential units?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and your only violation is lot frontage and lot width?
Right.
And that's because of the lot itself, has nothing to do with the construction?
Yes.
So tell us about the roof decks on this?
There will be roof decks on the top of the front duplex unit. There is a middle 2-bedroom duplex unit, and then there's one on a 4-bedroom duplex in the back. So 3 roof decks.
Okay, 3 roof decks?
And
okay.
obviously, that's subject to design review, so we have yet to see if that'll...
And how are they accessed?
They are accessed directly from the units.
Hatch?
Through a head house.
Head house?
Yep.
So you're gonna have 3 head houses up there?
We will.
Okay. And tell us about the types of units, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom,
So
and
we
the
have-
average square feet.
We have a 4-bedroom duplex as the front unit. It's accessed directly from grade. That's about 1,500 square feet. We have a 2-bedroom duplex in the middle that is about 850 square feet. We have a studio in the rear that is over 450 square feet, and then we have another 4-bedroom that is around 1,300 square feet in the rear.
And how is parking accommodated?
In the rear of the site.
Rear,
Yep,
okay.
4 parking spaces in the rear of the site. So again, that complies with Article 50 and those requirements.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
Well, I'm a little confused, actually. On the elevations, you're showing the lines, you're showing a notation for a metal-clad head house, but you're actually not showing the head house.
Does it not show on the plans?
No, on A200, 201, and 202, it's the same, right?
I might have misspoke. Does it show on the floor plans whether it's a hatch?
All it says on the elevations is metal-clad head house, and then there's arrows pointing to 2 vertical lines, but there's no head house. And on all your elevations, it looks exactly the same on...
So my elevations do show a head house, especially if you look on the front page.
What do your plans, what's the date on your
I'm
plan?
looking at A200, 201, and
This is
202.
October 2018. So perhaps that wasn't updated with it, but I do have plans here showing the locations of the head houses on the side elevation. I'm happy to distribute that.
These plans from 10 October 2018.
Yep, so this shows the location, so we got a head house.
Which drawing are you looking at?
This is the front page, sir. And if you do look on
Front
the
page,
roof
A, oh,
page,
no, that's a site plan.
look at A104, it also shows the locations of where the head house is gonna come up. And if you look at A200, it shows the locations of the head house, it says metal-clad head house.
It says metal-clad head house, but it doesn't show it.
Oh, I have the same plans that I think you're looking at here, and it does show it, so I'm not sure what. I'm happy to distribute those.
Would you mind stepping up here?
Yes.
In the
Would you like me to come up as well, or?
Come up here.
In the meantime, is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Mr. Moda, Madam Chair, and members of the board, my name is Jessica Thomas.
It's very thin. You can actually see it's like a very thin line. See that?
Excuse me. Can you keep the voice down?
Sorry.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and members of the board. My name is Jessica Thomas with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, and we'd like to go on record to support the project. He met with the Neighborhood Association and the abutters who was in support of the project. It will bring new home ownership to the area.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Nobody in opposition? Is there a resolution, Mr. Ehrlich?
Well, if you have an extremely powerful magnifying glass, I guess you can see it.
You know, it looks like this might need significant design review.
Yeah.
Is that a right impression?
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve with significant BPDA design review.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Jeff, can you make a note to make sure that it's more contextual, please?
Calling the next 2 cases, calling BOA 923-818, 1 Maple Street, companion case BOA 923-819, 1 Maple Street. This is the change of occupancy from a 2 to a 3 family. Violation of Article 50, Section 29, additional lot area is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 50, Section 29, the usable open space is insufficient. This is parking for 2 vehicles behind the home. A violation of Article 50, Section 43, off-street parking and loading requirements. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the board. My name is Frank Feeney, 25 Braintree Hill Park, Braintree, Massachusetts.
Tell us what's being proposed.
Just a change in occupancy from 2 to 3. This building was built in 1895. Has historically been occupied as a 3-family. My client, who's an owner occupant, acquired it last year in 2018, discovered that it was a two.
So what's the evidence that it's been a three-family? Has it been paying taxes as a three-family? How about utilities?
It had been paying taxes as a three-family up until 2002, and then at some point it changed, for some reason it changed to a two-family. We're not proposing any structural changes whatsoever.
How about utilities? Any evidence that it's been occupied as a three-family through utilities?
I don't have any with me. My understanding is that at the neighborhood meeting, everyone acknowledged that it had always been occupied as a three, and the neighborhood is in support.
Okay. And tell us about this unit. What's the square footage? Where is it? Is it in the basement? Is it on top floor?
Okay, the top floor, and let's see, the square footage of the top floor would be 50. Talk about my magnifying glass. 1,518 square feet.
Three-bedroom?
Three-bedroom.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
The drawings show existing conditions and no proposed conditions. I assume that's because there's no work being done?
There's no work being done.
Okay. The drawings are adequate.
And tell us about the parking.
The parking, we're proposing two tandem spaces. As you look at the home, it's behind the home, it's a corner lot, and the width is 8.5 feet. So I believe that enables us to get two in there. We would also need a curb cut. So it's a net one to the street.
Again, Mr. Ehrlich, does that look like it's doable?
Yeah.
Yeah? Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Jessica Thomas with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, and we'd like to go on record to support as well. We did have a butters meeting and met with the Neighborhood Association, who was in support of the project. There was no opposition.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Calling BOA 929-131, 4 Hartford Street. This is a change of occupancy from a one-family to a two-family, creating access to a living room, second floor, turning dining into kitchen, adding master bathroom. Violations Article 50, Section 29, insufficient rear yard setback. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Broderick Egudobari, and I live at 32 Normal Street in Milton, Mass.
I'm sorry, your home address is
32 Normal Street in Milton.
in Milton? Okay. So tell us what's being proposed.
What we're actually proposing, the house is already been used as a two-family. There's 2 gas meters in it.
Have you been paying taxes as a two-family?
I don't know. I bought the house, so I went to the city. Sometimes you pull the permit. I pull permit on the city. There is a single. They gave me a permit for a single. They gave me a permit for 2. So I went to the inspector and speak to the inspector. So, but there was a permit pulled before on the house to convert it to 2, but it wasn't completely done.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to make it right.
Okay, and tell us, how are you proposing to create the second unit?
Actually, right now the house is a 6-bedroom house with 3 living rooms and has 4 bathrooms existing. So what the only thing we're doing is the first floor has a living room, has a very big kitchen, and it has a spot that's being used as a dining room.
So unit 1 will be the first floor?
Will be 2 bedrooms, a
Okay,
living room,
two-bedroom, okay.
and a kitchen.
And it'll be only the first floor?
It'll be only the first
Okay,
floor.
how about unit 2?
Unit 2, we have a total of 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms.
And so when you're proposing unit 2 will only be on the second floor?
No, it will be second and third.
Second and third floor?
Yes.
And it'll be a 3-bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. how are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
The drawings are, relatively, the proposal is relatively de minimis, so the drawings are okay. It is stamped by an engineer as opposed to an architect.
And it has separate utilities, etc.?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal? Jessica, you having a good day today?
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Jessica Thomas with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, and we'd like to go on record to support as well. We had an abutters meeting and also met with the neighborhood group who was in support of the project. No real opposition from any of the neighbors.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Wait, do you want, Mr. Ehrlich, do you want plans held until it's been signed by a registered
No, I
officer?
just, in the future, if you're bringing in another case, it would be better to have an architect stamp the drawings.
Okay, so there's a motion, there was a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 904-387, 123 to 125 Center Street. See the counselor's on his telephone outside.
Let's keep going.
He's at the next case as well.
Okay. How about Geneva Ave?
I'll go to Dorchester. Calling BOA 938-927-1876 to 1876A, Dorchester Avenue. Bear with me for 2 seconds. This is a change of occupancy from 9 apartments, hair salon, day spa, daycare, to 9 apartments, hair salon, day spa, professional office, and local retail. This is to construct a second and third story addition to an existing building. Violations, Article 65, Section 9. The floor-to-area ratio is excessive in Article 65, Section 9. The front yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is James Christopher, RCA LLC with the project architects with the business address 415 Ponton Ave. The project before you is 1876 to 1882 Dorchester Ave. The owner seeks to add a second and third story addition to fill in essentially the missing tooth along the corridor of Dorchester Ave. There's a two-story void in between the building. The change in occupancy is more corrective. It happened years ago, but the legal occupancy was never changed, so there's no work to take place with that. The net result is an addition of about 514 square feet of living space to 2 units. There's no change in occupancy, and it's simply to fill in the missing void and square off the building as it addresses Dorchester Avenue.
So this is just essentially to fill out those units.
Correct, Madam Chair.
Okay.
We had an abutters meeting on site. There was one of the neighbors from the rear of the property had some concerns about the existing property trash storage, which the owner has assured me that he's looked into and made it a point to take care of.
Okay, how are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Faisal Sharif with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support of this proposal, and we ask that there be design review included, especially for the commercial space.
Hear you. Go ahead.
We're going in support, but also requesting that design review be added for the commercial spaces. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Joe McGeckran, City Councilor, Frank Baker's office. We'd like to go on record in support.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jen Carte for Greater Ashmont Main Street. This is one of the designated Main Street parcels. Due to oversight from Office of Neighborhood Services, we were not looped into the abutters process here or have seen the plans. I sent an email yesterday to Madam Chair with our position on essentially the same project from 2010, just urging design review because of the NDOD overlay here, and we would love to be kept in the loop going forward.
Excellent, thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
My name is Peter Honan. My mother is Patricia Honan. She lives at 6 Ashmont Park in Dorchester. She's been there she moved in 1972.
So tell us what the opposition is based on?
The opposition is based on the trash disposal. The trash is being disposed on Ashmont Park. This has been a 20-plus year issue. I was at the abutters meeting, and I was told that
I would be made, the improvements would come to my attention about how the trash would be improved. Again, it's been, the abutters meeting was on March 11th. Nobody has contacted me. The architect who's sitting here, I spoke to him and I explained all my, the challenges we've been had to him. He said he would get back to me with improvements. The owners told me that they would get back to me with improvements. They also committed to me that they would start making improvements immediately. I have pictures here from the past 8 weeks since the abutters meeting showing that...
Has ISD been called about this garbage issue?
Yes.
They have, and
Yes.
there's been no resolution to it
No
from
resolution,
the
no.
city? Okay.
Unfortunately, the only, what we keep saying, what we keep hearing is rats. Show us rats and we can take care of it.
Okay.
So there's this, what happens is this dumpster comes down our private dead-end street at 5:30, 5:40 in the morning, lifts up this 2-ton dumpster to empty it, and then slam it down. I have pictures here that represent the trash overflowing each week. Okay?
Thank
And,
you. I'm good.
Okay.
You put that in the record, please.
Well, if I may, I'm
And
very...
so besides trash, what else?
Well, for the record, I'm quite, Mr. Fandel from the mayor's office was there. He also had heard all of my concerns. And I must say, I'm quite surprised that the mayor's office would approve these changes.
Thank you. So,
Enforcement is also aware of this issue.
no, it's all good. Counselor, thank you, sir. You may have a seat. Is anybody else to speak in opposition? Please put your name and address on the record.
Madam Chair, board members, name is Donna Smith. I'm at Drake Street, 9 Drake Street. I live quite close to this property. There's already no parking. There's very little in the back, and there's 2-hour parking on the front, which people use, and they stay there all day, every day. You call the city, they don't come out. They park in the busway, they park more than 2-hour limit, they block my driveway.
So this is on-street parking.
Well, there's very little, okay, they want to add 2 other floors.
I'm sorry?
They want to add 2 other floors. There's already no parking.
Okay.
Their back parking lot, there's not enough parking back there. So when they don't park, I can't find a parking lot, they block my driveway. Their courtesy, beep, beep, beep. People come out when they're done. If they're in the laundromat, they come out when they finish the laundry. If they're cooking their dinner or doing whatever they're doing to visit somebody, they don't come out until they're done. If they're in a beauty shop, they don't come out till they're done.
Okay.
Nor do they shovel their property.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you, ma'am. So, obviously, it sounds like there is, since you are now today the face of this property and property owner, sounds like there are serious operational issues, maintenance issues, and how is that all getting addressed?
I'll certainly address it with the owner again, Madam Chair. When we were at the abutters meeting, and I did mention that we spoke with the gentleman who was the rear abutter about the trash condition. The owner's committed to looking at fixing that fence when we get into construction, not immediately. And also discussing with the trash pickup company about the time in which the trash is picked up. And the owner has told me personally that he's gone over there and made sure that the dumpster is not overflowing and that there is not trash.
And how about just general maintenance? Sounds like there's also not enough maintenance. Sir, thank you. This is not a conversation. How about, it sounds like, there is no enforcement about certain issues that related to parking. Also sounds like there's no shoveling on the street, sidewalk.
I'm not a resident of the building, but the few times that I was there in the winter when there was snow, it was shoveled. But I will certainly make sure that the owner understands the implications of that moving forward. And as far as parking, it's Dorchester Ave. This building has parking in the rear, sufficient enough for the residential units of the building. We're not increasing the unit count, we're not changing the occupancy.
So who is the owner of the building?
Claudio Paul, he's here today, Madam Chair, he's in the back of the room.
Can you please come forward, sir? Please put your name and address on the record.
Yes, my name is Claudio Paulus.
Okay, so you're hearing all the issues that the abutters have with your property.
Correct.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
In
so-
regards to...
Sir, do you live in the home?
No.
What's your address?
This is a 9-unit apartment.
No, what's your
building.
address?
My address is 53 Beaumont Street, Dorchester, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are issues with your building. We will take a motion and decide on this particular process, but I would suggest very highly that at the conclusion of our disposition of this property, that you speak with the abutters, and perhaps there could be somebody from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services to really bring closure to this. Okay?
May I have a word, madam?
Is there anything that should be put in the record from anybody in opposition? Just put it in the record here so that it's, we have it with us, okay? In the meantime, may I have a motion, please?
I'm going to make it a motion to approve with continued, with any BPDA on this job?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
continued BPDA design review, yes, stringent design review.
Okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Your project has been approved. However, I'm expecting to see you out there with the abutters to have a conversation about maintenance of your property, okay?
We've always been
Okay.
there.
Bring it to closure today, please. Thank you.
We're going to go back to the couple of the cases I called earlier. I'm going to go BOA 904-387, 123 to 125 Center Street. This is direct a 9-unit building with 11 parking spaces. Violation of Article 65, Section 8, townhouse-type residential unit is a forbidden use. Article 65, Section 9, the main entrance access location shall face the front lot line. Article 65, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the front yard setback is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the height is excessive in stories. And Article 65, Section 9, the height is excessive in feet. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney Patrick Mahoney with the business address of 160 Federal Street.
Thank you.
Representing the project owner, Brian Crowley, for 123-125 Center Street.
Ben Wong with Rhodey Architects, business address 535 Albany Street, Suite 405.
So tell us what's being proposed.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the current property at 123-125 is a two-family home on a 13,454 square foot lot on Center Street, squarely in the St. Mark's Neighborhood Association. The proposal here is to raise the existing structure. Demo delay has been completed, and erect a 9-unit residential building for condo home ownership. The dimensional requirements, or rather setbacks, are met. The front yard is 10 feet more than what the existing modal requirement is. The 30-foot rear yard setback is met. The side yard requirement here is 10 feet. One side is 10 feet, the other side is a little bit more at varying 13 feet at 1 to 11 feet on the other side. There is a height violation, both in vertical distance above grade, 35 feet is that height. The tallest part of this building is in the center portion of the lot, where it gets to be upwards of 38, which would be 3 foot in excess of what's required, as well as height and number of stories, 2.5 stories above grade is the requirement. There is no open space violation, and the parking requirement is 11 spaces, specifically 10.5, which technically is 10, and 11 are being provided.
So tell us about the FAR again. What did you say?
That we are seeking relief for floor area ratio. 0.5 is what's allowed, 1.1 is what's being provided here.
And tell us how access to the parking is supposed to work.
On the right side of the lot is an existing curb cut to access the current parking. That'll be maintained, and a 10-foot would be required for a drive access. We have 14 on that side. So if you're looking at the first page of the drawing, you'll see the parking access to the right, along the right side.
And access is underground or?
The building is designed in a barbell style, meaning that it's larger in the front and the rear. parking would be in the middle portion of that. Would that be accurate?
That's correct. Yeah, the parking is open air, but it's covered by the building, by a raised first floor.
Okay. There's no roof decks being proposed?
That's correct.
Any living space in the basement?
There's not.
No? Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Joe McEachran, City Council, Frank Baker's office, would like to go on record in support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Michael Folan. I'm Vice President of the St. Mark's Civic Association and also a member of the St. Mark's Development Committee. This development is in the St. Mark's neighbourhood of Dorchester. We know the developer and his team met with other neighbours outside of the St. Mark's neighbourhood. But the St. Mark's Civic Association and Development team was involved from the very beginning. There was
So you don't need to read the letter. You can put it in the record, but just highlight what your letter says.
Sorry. On January the 29th, this development came before, at its final meeting, it came before the St. Mark's Civic Association, and 90% voted in favour of this project. And also the Development Committee, all 5 members voted in favour of this project.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is anybody else to speak in support?
Hi, my name is Scott. I work for Mohawk Real Estate in Dorchester.
And what's your last name and what's the address?
Scott Collins, and this is for 123 Center Street. And just to go off what he said, the St. Mark's had the vote there, and it was 26-3 in favor. This is a St. Mark's issue. As rebuttal to the opposition, they said...
just to give us why you're in support.
Well, I collected signatures and I spoke to the neighbors. I had 86 signatures in favor in Dorchester. 16 were abutters.
Okay, how about merits of the case?
Well, that's what I have.
Okay, thank you. You can put the signatures put it in the record, please.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? First, I'd like representatives of elected officials. And again, just a reminder, give us new information. Do not repeat what somebody else has said. Okay? Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Faisal Sharif with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record opposed to the project based on some lack of abutter support. We have heard from 3 different civic associations that are opposed to this. I understand that they do have support from St. Mark's, but many of the concerns that we had were related to density and the number of units proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. So your name and address on the record, and please just give us what your opposition is based on.
My name is Darnell Graves. I live at 13 Austin Street. I'm an owner-occupied. I'm a direct abutter to this property. And the problem I have with it is many problems. We had a meeting.
No, first tell me about your opposition.
Okay, I'm telling you opposition. The opposition is, we had a meeting at the Melville Park Association with the abutters, and we did not approve of the existing property because of the increased density and because of the traffic and the parking issues that it brings. Since then, he has not wanted to come to see us to renegotiate any kind of deal. We are not, and I am not, against any kind of development, but because of the increased traffic and density and parking that it will cause there is totally insane. Because right now, the parking situation and the traffic situation is horrendous. Center Street and also Austin Street has a lot of traffic. And it's a two-way street.
Okay.
When it's real busy, which is a lot of times, it turns the two-way streets into one-way streets. And many times...
So hold on, sir. So let me see if I get this. So basically your 3 issues were density, traffic, and parking, and the desire for a loop back from the developer back with the community and with you.
Correct.
Okay? So now I've heard these 3 issues. Anybody else, please give me additional information. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Give me additional information, please.
My name is Dominic Cassetta, and I'm an officer of the Melville Park Association. First of all, I want to mention that this particular parcel actually falls within the boundaries of 3 neighborhood associations, St. Mark's, Melville Park, and Codman Square. So there are 3 groups, plus it abuts Loge Park, which has its own group of people that are always concerned about what's going on around the park. The developer had his lawyer come in November and make a presentation to us.
Just please tell us what your
Right,
opposition
okay,
is based
yes.
on. You've heard the 3 issues that were already
Yes,
raised.
Donnell mentioned the issue of density and parking, which are major, but also the fact that the house is going to be demolished. We're a neighborhood that prides ourselves on being historic. Many of the houses are beautiful, but a lot of them are just your standard old houses. This house is over 150 years old. And to simply tear it down and build something that kind of looks like it isn't what we're looking for. And I emailed the lawyer, Patrick, back in December and offered to pull together a meeting of all 3 neighborhood associations, representatives of them, and members of the Friends of Loge Park, and so that we could all sit down and discuss discuss the issues. He declined to do that.
Okay.
And the plans that he's currently presented to you, we never saw. He made changes based on the plans that were submitted to St. Mark, and that's what I'm assuming you have there. We never saw those. He never presented them to our association for review. So we've been basically left out of the loop on this project.
Okay, thank you. Okay, new information, ma'am?
Yes, good morning. My name is Sally Graham. I'm at 28 Moultrie Street. I am also with the Melville Park Association. I'm 1 block from this development. I'm a member of the Friends of Dr. Lesh Park, and I'm also on the board of the Codman Square Neighborhood Council. My concerns are, just as Dominic and Donnell have already expressed, I also represent Norma and Orlando Diaz. They are direct abutters at 117 Center Street. They were unable to be here today. They are in Puerto Rico dealing with family issues. I spoke with them last week. They are opposed to this development. The developer and his attorney have not approached them. They are right next to it. It will add incredible density, the same concerns that have already been expressed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Sir, can you take off your hat, please? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lindy Ware. I live at 50 Center Street. I have been there for 22 years, and I just want to put on the record I concur with what everyone else said.
Thank you. So it sounds to me that the issue really that I'd like to hear from, because I think you've addressed the demolition issue with the historic building, because you've gone through the demo delay process. Yep. Okay, can you talk please about the process, about closing the loop with abutters? I'm sorry, 1 minute. Are you speaking in opposition?
No. Yes. Yeah, I am.
Okay.
May I have your name?
Your name and, okay.
My name is Dolores Perry.
Okay.
I live in the area.
What's your address?
My address is 56 Manor.
Okay. And are you in support or opposition?
I don't think they should do what they're trying to do.
Okay, so you're in opposition.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so please discuss about closing the loop, about outreach to the abutter.
Madam Chair, so this has been a lengthy community process. We began approximately 9 to 10 months ago. And it began before ONS with an intimate group from at the time before Brian closed on the property, with the current owners as well as the direct abutters, his neighbors. And it was myself and Ben, the architect, and the group of intimate abutters that were generally in support of the proposal. None of those people have been identified on any opposition letters that were at that initial meeting, and those were all the contiguous abutters at that time. And when I say contiguous, I mean actual abutter to the property. Since then, we had an abutters meeting, and there was some other groups. That was identified to me that other groups would be interested in the project. It is in St. Mark's Neighborhood Association.
Regardless of our territory, I just want to make sure that the abutters were adequately notified.
So the direct abutters were flagged on 2 occasions, 2 abutters meetings. We presented as a courtesy to Melville Park, not in this association, but a neighboring one, as well as a courtesy to Codman Square. I met with the president of Codman Square prior to that, to also, before we even began to talk a little bit about the project. And some concerns, although, you know, not in support now, were based on the design. The initial design work was, there was a larger townhouse units and a more modern front of the building.
So you've addressed the first round of concerns?
Yes,
Okay.
in Melville Park, although they're not here in support, the change, the current change that has been emailed to them, both from myself and the architect, was to change entirely the design. It was a modern building initially, and then it was a hybrid, modern, traditional style, and now although we couldn't save the existing structure, which would be beneficial to the developer because it's closer to the front yard,
Okay, Counselor,
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure there was due diligence, and specifically that the direct abutters were contacted.
We've had more meetings for this project than a large project are related.
Okay? Given all this information, may I have a motion, please?
I'm going to make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review and continued work with the neighbors.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with that proviso.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 931125, 1854 Dorchester Avenue. Counselor, before we go forward on this one, I just want to give you they postponed this case supposedly to June 11th to re-advertise case to an incorrect refusal letter. Could you maybe explain to us, maybe? Thank you.
The refusal letter that I had,
I will. I just wanted to make sure, before I read it into the record.
certainly, it was just to correct parking. Parking is on the agenda today, and that the initial refusal letter was corrected in February.
Okay, very good. Okay, this is construction of a 9-dwelling unit, parking on the bottom floor and retail store. The violation, Article 65, Section 41, off-street parking requirements is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the lot area for additional dwelling units is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the height is excessive in stories. Article 65, Section 9, height is excessive in feet. Article 65, Section 9, the front yard setback requirement is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the side yard setback requirement is insufficient. And Article 65, Section 9, the rear yard setback requirement is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney Patrick Mahoney with the business address of 160 Federal Street. Representing Paul Wolchek, who is not able to be here today, but is the current owner of 1854 Dorchester Ave.
This was adequately advertised, et cetera, and you're proceeding today.
That's correct. There was a change in the refusal letter on February 28th to address the parking violation, and that is on the agenda today as relief being sought. The proposal has changed slightly. I should, before I take us into it, and the change has been to increase parking from what was initially 5 spaces to 9 spaces. There is still relief for parking being sought today.
And what's required on parking?
It's 10.5 spaces.
Okay. So tell us what's being
10
proposed.
spaces specifically. The proposal is there's an existing one-story retail building or industrial building at the corner of Rentham and Dorchester Ave. And this building essentially expands upon that footprint, although that building is being raised at 1854 Dorchester Ave. And the proposal is to have 9 parking spaces through a relocated curb cut on Rentham. That curb cut will be reduced significantly, but it will remain to be positioned further towards Dorchester Ave in the middle of the building. The best drawing for that would be A1, A101. Additionally, there's the small retail space in the first floor, 555 square feet of retail, as well as 2 residential units per floor above the first floor. Should be 3 residential units, 2 2-bedrooms, 1 1-bedroom unit, positioned on each level, floors 2, 3, and 4. It will be a rental building with elevator access from the lobby to each area. In addition to the 9 parking spaces, one of them, or inclusive of the 9 parking spaces, the developer has offered to provide T-passes with each, something that was recommended through the community process to each tenant.
Is there a roof deck proposed on this?
There's not.
There's no roof deck, okay. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Faisal Sharif with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support and ask that BPDA also does design review for this proposal. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Joe McEachran, City Councilor, Frank Baker's office would like to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Michael Foley, Vice President of St. Mark's Civic Association. This project came before the St. Mark's Civic Association meeting, and there was overwhelming support. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you speaking in support?
In opposition, Madam Chair.
Okay, is anybody here to speak in opposition?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Jen Carte with Greater Ashmont Main Street. I have a formal letter for the record. I have a copy for each of the board members if you wish.
Summarize for us what the opposition is based on?
Absolutely. When this project initially came to us, we were very excited to have this parcel redeveloped. It should be. It's in deteriorating condition. We urged at the time there was just over 600 square foot of commercial and 5 or 6 parking spaces. We urged the elimination of a couple of those parking spaces to make a more rentable, foot traffic possible business space on the first floor, and that was received with enthusiasm by the developer. We understand that the abutters meeting was very contentious. Before it went to the full St. Mark's Civic Association, instead of reducing the parking spaces and increasing to about 1,000 square feet, which in our experience is a much more rentable space, they went down to just over 500 square feet and added more parking spaces. And so we have concerns about how it fleshes out this part of the district that we're charged with the economic revitalization of.
Thank you. You're in opposition. Please put your name and address on the record.
Anna Maria Dignoni, 14 Rantham Street. I'm the adjoining abutter. We're just, me and my mom are opposed to the project. She's a 75-year-old woman. She has very concerns.
What are the concerns?
Her sunlight will be affected. She's an old school Italian. She plants her vegetables. That's going to be concerned. She's concerned about that. Parking is a huge issue in the area. We already have, parking situations. Windows get smashed sometimes because someone parks in front of someone's driveway, things like that. No one ends up moving. That's a major concern. She's concerned about, after construction, the rodents that are going to be surfacing. She's scared that they're going to come into her house. She's an elderly woman. We never got a new proposal. We've just seen the first plan. We never seen the second plan with the other parkings and things that they said. A curb cut. There's already a curb cut there. Now we're going to lose another parking spot. I'm just very concerned about it.
Okay, thank you. Council, does Mr. Ehrlich have the most updated plans?
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit broke English. I live in their house.
Did your
Yes,
daughter,
I live in their house.
just speak
Yes,
on your
that's my
behalf?
daughter. But I want to speak myself. I live in their house for 40 years, and we never. Always we got a problem because the people they go to Ashmont Station, take a train, and they live parking on the Rantham Street. Now imagine for this 9 unit they want to build it there. Naturally, they got to have more car, more traffic, and plus the mouse when they got to dig the road, the mouse they got to be tremendous. So I agree with that because I do the vegetable and the buildings they got to come up very high. They got to make a 9 unit. Now they got only just a little garage there. Now imagine what they got to put a 9 unit. They got to block all my window, all the sun. I can do no yard. I can do nothing. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So does Mr. Ehrlich have the most updated plans?
Yes, he does.
He does?
They were submitted 60 days ago, and then again more recently, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, sounds like perhaps after a decision is made here, you need to be in touch with the butters, make sure they see the most recent plans. Given all this information, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review and special attention to our friend on Draper Street.
Is there a second?
Renton, sorry.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with that proviso.
Calling BOA 922-385-481 to 487 Geneva Avenue. Geneva Avenue here. This is a change of occupancy from a restaurant, 36A offices, store restaurant to 36A offices, nail salon, ventilation system, tables and chairs in an existing space. The violations, Article 65, Section 8, a nail salon is forbidden use. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, my name is Mariani Baez. 487 Geneva Ave, Dorchester, 02122. And I'm here because I want to support with the permanent permits.
So this is a conversion from a store to a nail salon, right? So how many chairs and what are the hours of operation?
I have 3 manicure chair and 2 pedicure chair.
So 5 chairs, and what are your hours of operation?
9:15 to 6.
How many days?
For now, 7 days.
7 days a week? Okay. What's the,
For now.
Mark, does that say what zoning district it's in?
Yeah. It is in the 2F5000.
Okay, let's see. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
The drawings are adequate, and I actually wanted to compliment you on the drawings because they specify ventilation units, which I know is a big problem in the nail salon industry. And they're called out on multiple occasions in multiple ways, and that's good.
Okay.
You just asked them. They're right at the door, and there's a sign right up.
What is that noise?
Everybody's talking about it. They're right at the door.
Okay, let me just see. Is anybody here to
Thank you.
speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Faisal Sharif with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dustin Gardner on behalf of City Council President Andrea Campbell's office. We'd also like to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Does this building have grates in front of, on the window?
Yes, to bring
okay.
the ears.
Yes, thank you. May I have?
Also, is there going to be new signage?
Letrero, ¿lo van a cambiar?
Sí. No, va a ser el mismo.
It's gonna stay the same.
The same.
It's gonna
Okay,
stay the
may
same.
may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
With design review to remove grates and to just look at signs.
Well, the signs are the same, so.
Yeah, so for the grate removal. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the last case for 10:30, calling BOA 933-655-288 Washington Street. This is seeking change of occupancy and permitting in order to renovate the existing commercial property into an auto rental location. Violations, Article 51, Section 16. A rental car location is forbidden use, and Article 51, Section 53, screening and buffering requirements. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Nick Zazula, McDermott, Quilty, and Miller, 28 State Street, Suite 802 in Boston.
With me to my immediate right is Josh Maxwell from Enterprise Rental Car, the appellant. To my far right is Scott Rogers from JK Holmgren Engineering, the project engineer. A little bit of background, we have a handout just to familiarize you with the property and in the project. Property is located at 288 Washington Street in Brighton. It's the corner of Winship, Cambridge, and Washington Streets. It's a unique corner lot that fronts, kind of juts out into Washington Street. It's a little over a 5,000 square foot lot. It's currently an auto body shop. It's a long-standing, long-existing gas station service use. It's currently the Alpha Omega foreign car service service station. What we're proposing is in line with the historic use of the property. We're proposing to change the use and occupancy to a rental car use for Enterprise Rental Car. And the change, we think is very similar in nature.
Is this zoning NS? Is it neighborhood shopping?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why it's forbidden uses?
Yes.
Because CC is where it's allowed?
Yes. So we would suggest and submit that the proposal is in line with the long-standing existing use as a service shop. This is a car rental agency. However, we'd also submit that what's being proposed is less impactful to the community, and less impactful to the environment, less noise, less fumes, less exhaust. Will be managed appropriately by a long-time operator of rental cars in the city, very familiar with urban settings and with how to manage a lot of this size and this type in the city.
What are the proposed hours of operation?
Proposed hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday 9 to 12, 9 a.m. to 12 noon only, Sunday closed. And we did meet with the BAIA on January 10th. I don't know if anybody's here from the group today, but they did vote in support. We also held an abutter meeting on April 1st with the mayor's office. No abutters showed up at that meeting.
And this proposed enterprise sign is new?
So the sign itself is existing. That's an existing sign that's there. Obviously, it's not for Enterprise because they're not there yet. It's an existing condition.
Is that legal? Because there are some number of illegal signs in Brighton.
My understanding is that it is. We weren't cited for signage. We actually are improving the condition by lowering the sign by at least 5 feet from where it is now. The sign is...
What will be the height then?
15 feet? Yeah, probably right around 15 feet. It's probably close to 20 foot, if not more, of a sign. And it's in need of repair, so I think we'd be improving the existing condition. Obviously, it'd be a nice, clean, very basic sign, as you can see in the rendering.
That's a tough intersection. Are you going to be cutting back on the curb cut there?
No, the curb cuts would be used as existing. There's one on, I believe, Winship Street, and there's one on Cambridge Street. There is no direct access to Washington Street. It's onto the side streets.
Just a quick question. The capacity, how many vehicles going to be on site?
15.
15?
15 vehicles only, of which I think a few of them are employee spots, actually. If you could see to the left of the garage door, those, I believe, would be the employee spots. This rendering, it doesn't show. It's just a trade dress rendering. If you look on...
I'm looking at that. I see the 15 dot.
Yeah, if you look the second to last page in our handout, that's actually from Holmgren Engineering. That shows the accurate description and spacing of the spots. And that's how it's used now. Vehicles are parked right there in front. They're parked by the auto body shop in those locations.
How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this?
Just to the extent of I know you have wrought iron fence as right at the apex of the corner, but is there something that you could consider in terms of the side areas along Washington and Winthrop Street?
So we can look at that. That's an existing fence that's there. It's actually in pretty good condition. So we preferred it's in a long-standing condition there. What we are proposing, as you can see on the engineering plan, the landscape plan, is a whole bunch of that area in front of the fencing is just grass and weeds. And what we're proposing is to obviously make that a nice plantings. We have a whole layer of, we'll have mulch and a whole layer, whole additional scope of landscaping to add there. We could certainly look at that. I don't know what that would mean for access to the lot.
So you were going to speak in support?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We'd like to go on record in support of this project. As the applicant mentioned, we held an abutters meeting. No concerns were raised. They went in front of the Brighton Allston Improvement Association, received overwhelming support. We feel this is a great opportunity to actually take more cars off of the street. It gives Brighton residents a chance to maybe not have car ownership, but rent a car every now and then in the event that they need one. Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Daniel Polanco, on behalf of Councilor Siamo, Council elect to go on record in support.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Karen Foley, Councilor Sabi George's office, would like to go on record of support. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Minor Perez, representing the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record of support of this project.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Can we look at extending the screening and buffering to Washington Street so that it solidifies that corner there? Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You want to go right into 11:30?
We're going to take a 10-minute break, and we will be back in session at 11:45.
Are there any deferrals or withdrawals? You can come up to the podium. We'll get them out.
Session for Tuesday, May 7th. Just a reminder, please make sure your cell phones are off, and in conformance with the open meeting law, this meeting is being live streamed. Also a reminder that if any of you have cases on for the May 21st meeting, that meeting is now canceled, and all projects will be heard on June 25th. There will be outreach and advertisement about that fact. Mr. Fortune.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the rediscussions for 11:30, are there any deferrals or withdrawals? Councilor, address, please.
66R Cambridge Street.
For the record, calling BOA 812-800-66R Cambridge Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Stephen Miller, McDermott, Quilty and Miller, 28 State Street in Boston. Seeking a deferral. My client still wants to attempt to work with the abutters and community to see if they can work out a mitigation plan.
And how many deferrals has this project had?
Several.
7?
No, several. I think
Several?
two or three.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion for deferral.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
We're going to do September 10th at 11:30.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals?
Mr. Fortune, 27
And 33 Jenkins?
and 33 Jenkins.
For the record, calling BOA 917-597-27 Vinton Street. This companion case, BOA 917-602-33 Jenkins Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. Madam Chair, members, at the first hearing, this was deferred to allow for the Andrew Square Civic Association to review and vote on this. At that meeting, an abutter had some concerns and objections. My client then had to meet with that abutter before Andrew Square was in a position to vote. That meeting has occurred. We are not able to get on the May Andrew Square Civic Association agenda. The June meeting will be held on June 12th. Therefore, respectfully request an extension to allow us to present to Andrew Square.
So are there substantial and substantive changes?
None.
None?
No changes. My client resolved many issues with conversations with the abutter. The abutter still, I believe, has an objection to the right side setback. But the key point here is that we've been asked to defer to allow the Andrew Square process to play out and allow them to have a vote on the matter.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion for deferral.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The date?
It officially pushed us into August 13th, 2019 at 11:30.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 11:30 rediscussions? Hearing none, I'll call the first two cases, calling BOA 845-532-605 East 6th Street. There was a companion case, BOA 854-528-605 East 6th Street.
Mr. Fortune, no need to read that into the record. I've been waiting. There's been a lot of conversations today. I'm going to have to request a deferral.
And
Okay.
this, okay?
605 East 6th. My name is George Moranci. You called it into the record, I believe?
Yes, I have, sir.
My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston, requesting a deferral in this matter.
How many deferrals is this?
This is the second.
And why is that?
Because right now, we're in a position where the elected officials will not support this without an additional community meeting. I therefore do not want to go forward in the face of opposition from some of the elected officials.
Okay.
There are additional opposition. My client has been working with direct abutters for the better part of 6 months. This may be the second deferral or third, I'm not even sure. Today, we were making progress, but then we were advised that additional signatures of nearby residents appeared last night, and we've been asked to
So it
to
sounds
defer
like
and
you
continue
need,
meeting.
so you need a bit longer deferral then?
No, I think we're in agreement that we certainly don't need a longer deferral. I think that we need to have, I'm sure that we need to have one meeting because my clients have made a number of concessions to the point where we're nearly in agreement with the direct abutters. but we have been requested to have one more meeting before proceeding.
Okay.
I think we could do this very quickly. I realize that the board is extended out.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion to defer.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The date, please.
Again, we're into August, 8/13. We are full in June and July.
Okay, see you then.
Okay, I'm going to see if we have a lucky winner here. There are no more deferrals or withdrawals. Okay. So we're going to call for the record, calling BOA 921-538-92 George Street. This is to erect a three-story building with 8 residential units and 9 parking spaces. Violation Article 50, Section 28. A multifamily dwelling is a forbidden use. Article 50, Section 29. Additional lot area is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29. The floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 50, Section 29. Usable open space is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29. Front yard is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29. The side yard is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29. The rear yard is insufficient. And Article 50, Section 32. A multifamily dwelling is forbidden use. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, Attorney Jeff Drago from Drago and Toscano with an address of 15 Broad Street. With me, I have the owner, Gene Bernstein, and developer of 92 George Street. As was mentioned, we're proposing on a vacant lot to erect a 3-story building with 8 residential condominium units and 9 interior parking spaces that would go directly with those units. This particular district falls under 2 separate zoning districts that cut right across this lot. One of them is the New Market IDA, and the other one is a 3F 4,000 subdistrict. The total lot size is 8,527 square feet, and the gross square footage of the building is 9,867 square feet. I'm just going to go over the bedroom and unit sizes and bedroom count. With the floor plans, we've got 4 2-bedrooms, on average are 1,185 square foot 2 beds. And then we have 4 1-bedrooms at 675 square feet. The first floor includes 9 parking spaces, bike rack, and elevator lift. Second floor houses units 1 through 4. Third floor units 5 through 8. We worked diligently with community process, and we did get a letter of support from the DSNI group from this neighborhood. With them, we worked on changes from our original plan. And those changes, just to mention, that was why we sought a deferral the last time. One was reducing the building from a 4-story building to a 3-story building, which eliminated our height violation. We reduced the actual height from 38 feet to 30 feet. And our unit count was reduced from 9 units to 8 units, and our gross square footage went from originally 14,246 square feet to 9,867 square feet.
But your FAR is...
1.15
So since you're split between districts, it's probably not very high.
Correct.
And your yard insufficiencies, can you walk through those?
Yes, so for the, you want me to go through each one, Madam Chair? Okay. So because it's split from 2 different groups, the New Market really doesn't trigger any violations, just one, but the 3F 4,000 is where mostly they're triggered. The additional lot area, 2,000 required per unit, we're only at 6,525. FAR allowable in that is 0.8, we're at 1.15. Height, we do now meet, so that was triggered prior. Usable open space, 650 per dwelling unit, we're at 481. And then with our side yard, we meet it on the right side of 10 feet, but on the left side, we're at 1.8.
Left side, I'm sorry, is 1.8?
1.8 on the left side, just where it jogs out, but the building sort of, if you see a picture of the site plan, sort of.
Okay, and this is an elevator building?
Yes.
And the handicap unit?
2nd floor.
And tell me about this garage door.
So it's right on the front of the building. So is there anything in particular you...
Yes, I think Arthur knows by now that we're not very open to garage buildings that look like these garage buildings.
Okay.
So we need to make sure that there's a clear message that we need something that's more welcoming and friendly.
We can
Okay.
definitely work with the BPDA on the design review to change that.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
So I've got two sets of plans, and the most recent is 415?
Yes, correct.
Okay. With that reflects the changes?
Absolutely.
Okay. Drawings are out.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Jessica Thomas with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, and we'd like to go on record to support pending BPDA review. As they mentioned, they did meet with the community groups. They met with 2 neighborhood associations and had 2 abutters meetings, which originally there was some opposition, but they did decide to work with the community to scale it back a bit and also hire local contractors.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Michaela Parkin from City Councilor Kim Shaney's office. We would also like to go on the record giving conditional support. As the development team mentioned, they did make changes based on community concerns, and they will be working with the BPDA Neighborhood Design Review. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else to speak in support?
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Ben Murphy from the Newmarket Business Association. We met with the proposers several months ago. They have since made some changes that we requested, although we are disappointed that they did not come back to speak with us again. After that, we recognize that the neighborhood is in support, and we will default to the neighborhood's opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the DRA design review.
Is it, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Jeff? Got it, okay. Motion carries, you're all set, good luck.
Calling BOA 922-614, 16R Roberson Street. This is to erect a new single-family dwelling roof deck above 2-car garage on an existing 5,730 square foot vacant lot. This will propose 2 off-street parking, access through 16 Roberson Street, proposed driveway. The violations, Article 55, Section 40. The off-street parking facilities required by Section 5540 shall be provided on the same lot as the main use of what they accessory. Article 55, Section 41.12. 2 or more dwellings on the same lot. Dwelling shall not be built on the rear of another dwelling. Violations, Article 55, Section 9, lot frontage is insufficient. Article 55, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient, and Article 55, Section 9, the front yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record.
Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Kyle Smith, business address of 359 Newbury Street, 5th floor in Boston. To my right, I have the architect, and to his right, we also have the owner, part owner, the daughter of the owner of the 2 parcels in separate parcels.
But tell us what's being proposed.
Madam Chair, if you recall, we were before you at the end of March. We had a JPNC, our second meeting.
A lot of water under the bridge since then, so
Yes,
you'll
miss.
have to remind us.
Of course. So, we had our JPNC meeting on the 20th of March, for which we had a vote of support. The letter issued by David Barron, the chair of the zoning committee, is in the package before you. The problem was we had slight modifications to the plans, which we did not have time to represent to ISD. Those were represented, Madam Chair, to you specifically. There was confirmation by way of this email issued by Lisa Hong, the examiner for ISD, as well as Stephanie Hayes of the BPDA, confirming that there are no new violations. So the plans you have before you are confirmed acceptable by BPDA and ISD at this point. What we are proposing is a single family. The family owns a rear parcel which has 6 feet of frontage only on Rocky Nook Terrace, so it is somewhat landlocked. In a long, extensive community process that began in January of last year, it was ultimately the election of the family to build a single-family home that addressed Robeson Street, as opposed to in a similar orientation to those parcels on Rocky Nook Terrace. In doing so, if you look at the rear of the package presented before you, We have effectively created building limitations that look like this by selecting to address Robeson Street as opposed to Rocky Nook Terrace. So we have made our setbacks significantly harder to manage and abide by in deference to our most closely affected abutter.
Let's just backtrack. So
Please.
this looks, what's the total square footage of this property?
2,181 square feet.
Of the entire property, the land?
Oh, the land is
5,730 square feet.
730 square feet, and this is just the front, this is the entire lot, including the carriage house?
This is the 16R property, not both properties together.
Okay, so 16R is 5,730, and what's the square footage of the front lot?
6,520 square feet.
Okay, and this dedicated right-of-way, is that part of that rear property, or is it being sliced off from the front lot?
No, it's not designed to be a conveyance of real estate. In the end, the family will memorialize an easement to permit access across the land. So the land will be retained by the front parcel 16 to provide access to the rear. So we will satisfy off-street parking requirements as per plans. We just need access by way of easement across 16.
Okay, and what is at 14 Rocky Nook Terrace?
14 Rocky Nook Terrace is presently a 3-story, 2-family structure owned collectively by one individual.
Okay, and the zoning in this district is
3F4000.
3F4000.
Also, for your reference, if you look to the last page, we have a summary table of all of the immediately adjacent parcels summarizing respective square feet of those parcels, the respective floor building footprints, as well as prospective FARs, all coming from Mass Land Records, the city's assessor's website, etc. We have a 0.8 FAR allowable. Our proposed FAR is a 0.38, so we're coming in at below half of what is otherwise permissible. We're also proposing a single family where otherwise a 3-family is permissible by use.
So, just so I get it clear, so
Yes,
this is
miss.
an individually platted lot
Correct.
at the rear of the building?
Yes, we have 2 parcels. One is front-facing Robeson, the other one runs perpendicular to it, 2 separate and distinct parcels. The owner of the property purchased them that way in the 80s. They have remained separate. On the deed reference, they are 2 separately divided parcels. We have not subdivided land to make a separate parcel.
Okay, so tell us about what is being proposed on that, about the carriage house.
Sure. So at present, there is a small dilapidated garage that used to service 16 Robeson, a current single family. We are proposing to raise that structure to build, starting in that orientation of the garage, those facades, a 2-car garage and then a single family home.
Okay, and tell us about, you have a number of violations?
Yes, miss.
Speak to the violations.
Sure. So just to reiterate, if you look off of, if we had elected an orientation similar to what would exist on Rocky Nook Terrace, we believe that our setbacks would be this configuration, which would be easily met, given the width and length of the parcel. In trying to provide deference to the abutter, we have made it more difficult on ourselves by electing to have an address that faces Rocky Nook Terrace, which means that we have to abide by setbacks that look like this. So that causes some setbacks that otherwise wouldn't necessarily be present if we had a different orientation, which we have elected in privacy to 14 Rocky Nook Terrace. To answer your question, Madam Chair, we have off-street parking violations in the sense that we need to have access across 16 Robeson for our proposed 2 off-street parking spaces for the parcel. So we will have requisite parking spaces. By code, you're not supposed to be building a home to the rear of another. Because we have elected to build and have an address of 16R as opposed to 16 Rocky Nook, we have that violation. As indicated, we then have different setbacks here, so our setbacks have essentially been created by our election in order to provide privacy and deference to our closest abutter. So we have a front yard and a rear yard setback.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Owen?
The plans are adequate. I have a couple of questions. The front orientation of the proposed house.
Yes, sir.
Is towards Rocky Nook?
No, the orientation of the house, the front of the house is facing and addressing Robeson Street. We have secured an address of 16 Robeson.
Well, that was my question.
Yes, sir.
There are stairs in the rear of the house facing Rocky Nook, however. I live a block away. I know the property well.
That's just an access to the basement.
That's an access.
As for some more clarity too, we anticipate if we have gotten through this process, we'll have to engage a civil engineer. We'll have the land properly tested for existing pudding stone, which has been led to be present. Blasting is cost prohibitive if the family encounters pudding stone or some other form of slate or impasse. Their intent is to reduce the square footage of the basement to the point where it becomes economically not feasible to do so, in which case they will eliminate and go grade.
There are alternatives to blasting.
Yeah, the alternative is to reduce the size, not blast, and then ultimately eliminate the basement and go at grade.
How old is that garage? It's in pretty tough shape.
It is structurally not stable, so it is not being utilized presently.
It's not being utilized, all right.
Correct, sir.
Okay, the drawings are adequate.
As one more quick note, if I may, we have had 2 meetings before the JPNC. Go ahead.
Is any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Enrique Pepin from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support of this project. We have gone through an efficient and long community process, and also there has been very strong support from the community and the neighborhood association. At this moment, we have no further questions or concerns on the project.
Thank you.
My name is Merlin Southwick. Can you hear me? I live at 26 Sigourney Street, which is up the street on the same block, but not on Robeson, but connected on the block. I have attended most or many of the neighborhood meetings. I've watched the family work to adjust their plans. I've seen them change many times. I support the project because I believe that they have found the best balance between what they need in order to live there and what the neighbors have requested around them. I have lived in my current house since 1977. I've attended scores of neighborhood meetings as more than 40 projects have been added since we moved to our house 40 years ago. I've watched all of this standard opposition and support for projects proceed. I've never seen a project go forward yet that hasn't had some opposition, even at the very end. And I'm particularly supportive of this project because it allows a family who has lived in the neighborhood and raised their children there to find a way to keep another generation in the neighborhood. So that's my support.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Alvin Shiggs. I live at number 28 Olmsted Street. My wife and I moved there 43 years ago, and I'm here to speak in support of the project 16R Robeson Street. I'm very happy to speak in support. I've often opposed many of the development that happened in the neighborhood, but this is one that I'm very, very happy to get behind. Rita Jo Horsley is seeking a permit that would enable her daughter, son-in-law, and grandchild, who are now renters, to own a home in the neighborhood. You can see from the petition that this proposal is reasonable. It's reasonable in scope, it's reasonable in size, and the footprint as well as the height. The Horsleys have demonstrated every effort to be reasonable and accommodating to the concerns of the butters. This project is permissible by code as far as the physical building parameters are concerned. That is, the lot is zoned for 3-family, and they seek to build a single-family dwelling. Rita Jo has been thorough, respectful in disclosing her intent to convert the garage structure into a freestanding single-family dwelling.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
One
Your
additional comment.
closing, are you doing a closing statement?
Yes, it is. Sarah and her husband are not newcomers to the neighborhood. Sarah has been there a very, very long time. It is heartening in a time when displacement is happening in the area where people who can bring diversity to the neighborhood are willing to build and remain in Jamaica Plain. And I'd like to submit my statement for the record.
Thank you. Okay, ma'am, your name and address for the record, and give us new information, please.
My name is Lee Glenn. I live at 14 Park Lane in Jamaica Plain, which is just 2 streets from Sigourney Street. I've lived in my house for 52 years. The Horsleys have lived there almost that long. They are very committed to the neighborhood. They're very good citizens. They've done their best to try to make a project which will allow their family to stay together and stay in the neighborhood, and they are nothing except good citizens who've tried really hard on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, who's here to speak in opposition?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Hold on. After the representatives of elected officials, I'd like to hear from 3 people in opposition. And please make sure each one of you gives me new information. The rest of you, please come to the table here and have your name put on the record. Okay? Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Will Poff Webster from City Councilor Matt O'Malley's office. The council has heard from both sides on this issue. A lot of residents have reached out, and he wants to appreciate that. He remains concerned at this time and hopes that if anything is approved, it will undergo a robust design review process and continue working with the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Marilyn Arsom. I live at 14 Rocky Nook Terrace. I'm a direct abutter. I've lived there for 30 years. I submitted a letter to the ZBA stating that I oppose granting variances for this project. I believe that I and my neighbors deserve...
Ma'am, could you just bullet point for us? We have the letter in the record.
Okay,
but bullet point
I will,
for us.
but
okay.
I need to read because I can't speak without it. Okay. I did submit a letter. I believe that the project as proposed does not meet the requirements for granting the variances that they're requesting. It's a house in a backyard without any street frontage. This creates safety issues. The proposed house is of a design and scale that's not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. It increases density, traffic, and the loss of green space that serves as a buffer between streets. Finally, despite being being collegial neighbors for 30 years, Joey Horsley and her team have actually refused to work with the abutters to address our concerns in any real way. I hope that you will take them into consideration. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Serena Nickel. I live at 12 Robeson Street, number 2, and I'm in a direct abutter. The lot goes behind my yard. That proposed structure is planned to be 9 feet from my backyard property where my 3 children like to play. I have concerns about the construction process, about safety. I also find the scope and scale of the house too large for the area. I think that 2-car garage is excessive for the lot. And I think that they could have a very comfortable home with a 1,900 square foot home and a single-car garage. And we have tried to promote that idea, and we're turned away time and again.
My name is Claire Conley. I live at 17 Rocky Nook Terrace.
I'm sorry, you're
Claire Conley, 17 Rocky Nook Terrace. I'm about 40 feet from this parcel, across the street from 14 Rocky Nook Terrace. I'm opposed to the project for the same reasons as the previous opponents, but also because in large part, the abutters should decide what works for them. I felt that the community, both the abutters and all the neighbors, totally understood the desire of Joey Horsley and Sarah to find a way for Sarah to live here as an owner and so forth, but there were numerous proposals put forward that were just rejected out of preference or just out of hand. There were 15 requests submitted that at the very next community meeting, the attorney just sneered at the attendees and said, we're not doing it. The requests were things like fencing, vegetation, barriers, drainage control, basic things. So there clearly has not been a desire to work with the abutters. I think the abutters have clearly shown a desire to work with the proponents. I would also make 2 points. One, this parcel was created when the entire area was subdivided in 1916. This parcel was specifically and apparently intentionally created to be a landlocked parcel. It didn't receive 6 feet of frontage until 40 years later when they built Rocky Nook Terrace, and it just happened to curve into a piece at the end. And the last item is that there is a twin to this proposal being proposed at 18 Robeson Street. It was proposed 4 years ago. The community was adamantly opposed to it. They've come back 2 or 3 times since then, and the most recent that we understand is that they have submitted a new proposal to ISD for a single-family house that would be the twin of this project right next door with 26 feet of frontage on Rocky Nook. They're going to call that property is going to be called 21 Rocky Nook Terrace. So the entire neighborhood and community is extremely concerned about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you please address the construction management plan, because that was raised as an issue?
Sure.
Because we know that putting stone is very difficult. We know of other projects in the neighborhood that have caused their neighbors a great deal of angst over the years as they've tried to proceed. So can you tell us about the construction management plan?
Yes, Madam Chair. So please keep in mind, and I do truly respect the opinion of the abutters. They have asked for a lot of detail that we will have to go.
Can you answer my question first, please?
Yes, so when we have a formal engaged contract with a general contractor, we will make sure, and we're happy to enter into an MOU with the abutters, that there will be a management plan, there will be a proper person on site. The mother of my proponent to the right lives on site locally. She's retired. She is here often. There is somebody actively on the property a lot of the time to be a representative of the project. So we are happy to abide by a MOU to be reached as far as a construction plan.
Once we're
please,
developing construction documents, we'll be engaging a civil engineer, and we'll have the soil tested to see what we can do there. But it's the intention that we're not going to be digging into rock. If it comes to that, it will more than likely be just a slab on grade.
and also as a quick additional note, we will try to provide access to the rear parcel, which does not have necessary access or full driveway off of Rocky Nook over 16 Robeson. So the intent is to have all construction vehicles, et cetera, accessing the parcel over 16, the parent parcel.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I want to make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
And how about with that design review, screening and buffering,
I'll take that.
and a management plan to be filed,
I'll also take that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set with those provisos.
Calling the next case,
Thank you,
calling
Madam Chair.
BOA 893-750, 10 Ruthven Park. This is to combine existing 2 lots, 1 Ruthven Park and 2 Ruthven Park, create 1 lot at 10 Ruthven Park, and construct a new 3-story, 3-unit residential building. There will be 3 off-street parking spaces. The violations, Article 50, Section 43, off-street parking design and maneuverability. Article 50, Section 29, the lot area is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the lot frontage is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 50, Section 29, the front yard is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the rear yard is insufficient. And Article 50, Section 29, usable open space is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney Daniel McDevitt, 2 Granite Avenue, Milton.
Just 1 minute. Ma'am, could you please give these ladies a sheet of paper so they can sign their names? Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Tanya
Proceed.
Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Does anybody else at the table be talking? Will you be speaking?
My client, Salman Chowdhury.
Salman Chowdhury, 51 Hutchings Street, Unit 2, Dorchester.
Tanya Anderson, 98 Hawershoff Street, Dorchester.
So tell us what's being proposed.
This is an application to construct a 3-family house on a 3,855 square foot lot in a zone that allows 3-family houses on 4,000 square foot lots.
So the math is for 3,000, so it's 3F 4,000?
This is a 3F 4,000.
So the first unit needs 4,000 square feet, and each additional unit needs 2,000.
Right.
Okay? So you would need 8,000 square feet for a
To construct
3-family.
it. Correct.
Okay?
But we're reconstructing a smaller house than a house that existed. If you look at the subdivision plan from 1894, and you see a much larger house on the site. So this is the location of a 3-family house that was demolished some years ago, and this is to replace with a smaller 3-family house on this lot. So it also is a unique situation in that Ruthven Park comes down from Ruthven Street, if you look at the subdivision plan, and Ruthven Park is 20 feet wide at the street, at Ruthven Street. So when the city calculates the lot frontage, they're looking for 45 feet on Ruthven Street, when in fact this lot has 59.82 feet on Ruthven Park. When you look at it, the FAR for the new house it's a .08 zone, and this comes out at 1.12, which is not a great increase over the code. The front yard violation is that the front yard calls for 20 feet of front yard in this zone. This particular design has 14.5 feet of front yard, but it aligns with the side of the home at 73 Ruthven Street. So the new house does line up with, when you look down Ruthven Park from Ruthven Street on the left-hand side, they would line up. The rear yard requirement under the code is 30 feet. This structure has 12 feet of rear yard, but it's equal to what was the rear yard of the prior structure. So when you look at the 1894 site plan and you look at our proposed plan, you can see that the house as proposed by my client, which is a 3-family house, is smaller than what pre-existed. Of course, that was constructed prior to the adoption of the code. And the open space requirement is 650, and I believe the calculations for this as proposed is 640. There was a community process.
Tell us about the parking.
I'm sorry?
Tell us about the parking.
Okay, so there are 3 parking spaces shown on the site plan with the drawings that were submitted to you this morning. And my clients own, if you look at the 1894 drawing, you can see that there's lots A, B, and C. This is lot C, which is the subject matter of this appeal. My clients also own lot B. Because they own lot B and lot C, they own the fee in the right-of-way, so they own to the middle of the park. That's a private way.
So they over to the middle of Homestead Park?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Their lot line is to the middle of it.
How is the parking going to be accommodated?
The parking would be, as it shows in the drawing, 3 spaces across at the end of the Homestead Park.
And what's the requirement, the required parking?
3 spaces.
So required is 3, because there's a stated violation of parking and maneuverability?
It's maneuverability is what the issue is, and I think that that would be resolved with design. Because we can't, when the application goes in, you can't assume in the process of plans examination that the person owns the land next door and that an easement can be granted for someone to back into and turn around and come out the other way. When they check off the violations, they merely look at that particular property and not an abutting piece of property.
And so, so there will be an easement, a shared easement between A and B? And be
Between C and B.
I'm sorry, between C and
Correct.
and B, and it'll be registered?
Yes.
And what's the plan for Lot B?
Lot B is a 4-unit building.
Existing.
It's an existing 4-family, and it's in the process of renovation.
Okay.
It's a rather tired structure that needs some.
And what are these, so these look like 2 bedrooms, each about 1,000 square feet. Will any of these units be handicapped accessible?
The first floor certainly is. If you look, it's directly at grade, in and out. And the smallest unit is 1195, and the largest is 1324. So they're rather spacious 2-bedroom units. We have 55 signatures that I submitted today in favor, 22 of
Before
which.
you go there, I just need to get details on the building. Is there a roof deck proposed?
No.
There is no roof deck?
No, there was a community process at a sidewalk meeting. The original drawings did have one. There were, I think, a dozen people that attended the meeting on site, and the general consensus was they did not want to have one, and it's since been removed.
Okay, well now, hold on. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
Drawings are adequate.
Any additional questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Jessica Thomas with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, and we'd like to go on record to support contingent upon BPDA review. The Neighborhood Association did reach out with concerns about trash removal and also implementing design review. However, we do have 55 letters of support. There was also abutters that were there that were in support of the project as well.
Thank you.
Ms. Thomas, the question of the easement, has there been any understanding on that?
Yeah, that was the concerns that came up during the meeting, so which was why we would like to see design review. Some of the neighborhood groups did have concerns about that. So.
Is anybody here to no? Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
Hi, my name is Connie Ford. I'm with the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association.
You know, I'm having a hard time hearing today, so can you please speak up?
Sure.
Because that just tapes for the most part.
So my name is Connie Forbes. I'm with the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association, and we had one meeting where the proponent did appear, but the questions that were asked were not answered, and they had agreed to come back and present again to our body of membership, and on 2 occasions they did not show up. I was at the abutters meeting, which occurred at Pleasant Hill Baptist Church, which was an indoor meeting, and there were questions that came up from other abutters as well. Trying to get those answers is like pulling teeth, and so we did have a lot of questions, especially the question about the easement, because there are 2 properties in front. This is a property in someone's backyard. I don't know if you saw the Bay State Banner article that just came out. It's behind 2 people's homes, and so we had questions about what the easement agreement would have been. We had questions about ownership, because the paperwork on file does not show the ownership as being the person who's representing themselves here, although they did represent themselves at the abutters meeting as the owners. The legal documents stating ownership does not reflect the owner here as being the owner. That was a major question that was not answered. It is a private way. Again, the easement was the question. And we're all about policy procedure and equity in handling things. We have a question about this property. First of all, it's a one-way in, one-way out behind someone's home. And if there's any emergency or anything happening, there's a safety issue that we asked about. Because what if a fire truck or what if an ambulance had to access that property? Rufin Street itself, the main street that this is off of, has a huge parking issue as it is. And so you're creating a problem for the safety of the people who are going to be residing there. In addition to that, there's a lot of things that are happening that we don't have answers to, that we could not, in our pursuit of getting those answers, answered. Trash management is a big issue for us, because if there's no trash service coming into the street, that means trash is being put in front of someone else's home. In terms of recent weather in Boston, we've had a lot of intense winds blowing barrels down the street. And if you're dumping your barrel in front of someone else's home, who's cleaning up that mess if your barrel gets knocked over? And again, basic courtesy to the
Ask you
community.
about the character around the neighborhood. Is it 2 and 3 families or 4 families?
It's mostly 2 and 3 families historically, and that's one of the older, that's traditional for that area. So we have some brick buildings as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are the major points, but there are other points. But again, ownership was a question, because if you don't own the property and you put your paperwork in saying you own it, that's a major consideration we wanted to address as well. And that was a letter from President Elisa of the organization stating that we could not find the owners presented here as being the actual property owners.
Thank you. So we've had a couple of issues, clarification of ownership and the easement. And it seems today the theme is trash and trash containment. So tell us first about the easement and the ownership, and second about maintenance.
So the title to the property is held in an LLC. It's very common to acquire property in an LLC to limit your liability.
What's the name of the LLC?
So
ATA Development.
it's called ATA Development. And ATA Development could have anyone as a manager, but the member is Mr. Chowdhury.
Okay. And it's on record that the ownership, that ATA has ownership of Lot B and C.
That's correct. I actually have the deeds with me,
Okay.
if it's helpful.
Okay. And again, tell us about operations. How is that trash and trash going to be handled?
So this is going to be homeowners that's living there, and there
This
will
is
be
for
a management.
homeownership?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
And there will be a management company also most likely hired by the homeowners that's going to manage the property, because it will be condominium. And I literally live 1 block away from this property. We all take care of our own trash, and I'm assuming that the homeowners that's going to live there also is going to be concerned and take care of their own trash like every other homeowner.
Thank you. Okay, given this information, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve BPDA design review. Second.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Oh.
No.
Is there a second?
Second. Yes, there is.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with that proviso.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Case calling BOA 907-324, 1-7 Wilcott Road. They plan to build a three-story townhouse, combine 2 lots for parking and existing building to be raised. Violation Article 65, Section 41, off-street parking loading requirements, 65-41.4 parking location. Article 65, Section 8, townhouse, 4 units is forbidden. Article 65, Section 9, the lot frontage is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the floor to area ratio is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories. Article 65, Section 9, the front yard is insufficient. And Article 65, Section 9, side yard is insufficient. And Article 65, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, I'm Chairman of the Board, Attorney Derek Small, business address of 51 Dobson Road, Virgin, Mass. With me today is Mr. Matt Miller, who's the architect for the project. Today we are here seeking relief to combine the lots and erect 4 townhouse-style units with 8 parking spots. We were here prior to Today's hearing, we had 10 parking spots, but that was the reason for the deferral, as Mr. Pisani had questioned regarding the parking plan that was presented. Since that, we have met with the Public Works Department, who we submitted a new parking plan to, and they were supportive of it, and we also ran it by Mr. Bob D'Amico and the Transportation Department as well. The zoning sub-district here is 2F6000. What's the lot size?
Combined.
8,500 square feet is the lot size, and the violations are as follows. Parking location was one of the violations, and we have parking on a separate lot, which is just above where the units will be placed. The lot frontage, the requirement is 50 feet. We have 30 feet. The FAR in this area is 0.4. We're proposing a FAR of 0.82. The building height with regard to the number of stories, and the requirement is 2.5. We are proposing 3. Front yard setback is 15 feet. We are proposing 10. Side yard is 10 feet. We're proposing 6. And the rear yard is 30, and we're proposing 7. Madam Chair, with regard to this project, we've had a lengthy community process. We've had at least 3 abutters meetings, and we've met with Mount Boldon Association on at least 3 occasions with regard to this. We do have support of the Director Abutters, Ms. Janine Johnson, and Mr. Manny Gonzalez, who were here at the last meeting and spoke in support of the project, but unfortunately they could not be here today.
So on the parking, did I remember correctly that before all the spaces were going to back out right into the street?
That's correct.
So now you're proposing a curb cut, a limited curb cut with 8 tandem parking spaces?
That's correct.
Yes?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and there's going to be a retaining wall. Access will be through a proposed stairwell to the buildings.
That's correct.
Are you proposing then any screening and buffering along Mount Boldon Terrace?
Yes, we will be doing screening buffering.
Okay, and the units, you've gone through everything. There's no roof decks on this?
No roof decks.
Okay. Any living space in the basement?
No basements.
How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
So the drawings here, the big drawings all show the 10 spaces. This thing shows the 8 spaces modified, right? That's correct. Okay, so this is what I'll be stamping. You've got a 24-foot curb cut. I mean, how are people going to get in and out? You got 4 spots. How do the people in 1 and 3 and 6 and 8 get out?
Well, there's 4 units, so each unit can have 2 of those spaces. So within each unit, they can coordinate that within their own family. So it's not like a unit will be parking in front of another unit's
So
space.
there's no family arguments.
Right.
And as was stated, we did run this by the Public Works Department, who talked about the 25-foot curb cut, and we also had conversations with Mr.
Okay, Mr. D'Amico, you've seen this? Okay. I mean, this is certainly better than the previous alternative. Okay.
Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the board. Christine Brandeo, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. I'd like to go on record in support. They have gone to the Neighborhood Association several times as well, meeting with the abutters, and they have the support. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dustin Gardner on behalf of City Council President Andrea Campbell's office. We'd also like to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Jeff, can you just make sure, please, screening and buffering along the park, okay?
Calling the last case for 11:30. We're calling BOA 893-819-761 Washington Street. This is erecting a new 3-family house on a vacant lot. Violation Article 65, Section 41, no off-street parking provided. Article 65, Section 9, the lot area is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, additional lot area is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the lot width is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the lot frontage is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories. Article 65, Section 9, usable open space is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the building height is excessive in feet. Article 65, Section 9, the front yard is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. And Article 65, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Craig Galvin, I'm going to recuse myself for this, thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Derek Small. Business address of 51 Officer Road, Braintree, Mass. With me today is Mr. Arthur Chu, who's the architect for the project, and Mr. Mark Davis, who's the owner of the property. Today, we're here seeking relief to erect a three-family dwelling on a vacant lot. The lot has been vacant for some time, and in my research at the ISD, from the building jacket, there was a three-family on the property years ago, and it was destroyed by a fire. The zoning sub-district is a 3 out of 5,000. We have approximately 2,500 square feet for the lot size. The lot width and the zoning violations are as follows. The lot width is 50 feet. We have 36 and a half. FAR requirement is 0.5. We are proposing 1.9. The height is at 35 feet, 2.5 stories. We're at 34 feet, but we have 3 stories. Usable open space is 750 square feet per dwelling unit. We're proposing 288 square feet per dwelling unit. Front yard, we're using a modal setback, as there are other 3 families. If you're facing the property to the right of it, there are 3 families to the right of it. Side yard setback requirement is 10. We have 3.5 feet. Rear yard is 30, and we are proposing 3 feet in the rear. With regard to a community process, Madam Chair, we have met with...
Hold on, parking, what's required and what are you proposing?
The parking requirement is 3 spaces. We are proposing none. We have no off-street parking proposed for this project.
No, none, okay. And tell us about the general character of the neighborhood. Is that 1, 2, or 3?
On Washington Street, there are primarily 3s with a couple of 2s mixed in.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Owen?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Whitney Celestin with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. After 2 butters meetings for this project and a meeting with the CIA, Community Improvement Association, we support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the BPDL design review.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, have a good day.
Meeting is now adjourned.